top of the lineup, outstanding in setting the tone on Friday, a 9-7 victory marked by the top 3 spots in the order. Brett Renfroe showed up yesterday. He calmed things with his 200th career strikeout, not only a milestone day there, he had his longest outing. He ended up with his high water mark in punch-outs, and he evened the series, setting up a decisive Game 3 from Blacksburg, Virginia, between Stanford and the Hokies. Next. Time for the rubber match. Coaches meet at the plate. Stanford and Virginia Tech set to meet in Game 3 of the series. With that, we welcome you to our ACC Network coverage alongside my broadcast partner, Andrew Wells, Jason Patterson with you. Andrew, quite a series so far, and it all comes down to this.
Yeah, that decisive Game 3, as you mentioned, and both clubs able to get a victory. We'll see who can take the third one here in the rubber match.
Got an idea it comes down to offense when you look back at this series. That has certainly been the case. A couple of guys really coming to life for the Hokies this weekend, one of them Henry Cook.
Yeah, we talked a lot about the lineup Friday night for the Cardinal, but as you mentioned, Hokies with a good answer yesterday. Henry Cook there, the 3-run home run to the left side, and that's a huge confidence booster for the backstop.
Then you've got Gibson, who had a single home run coming into the weekend, and he has left the yard both days.
Gibson's been really good for Virginia Tech and enough to find himself in the lineup here again in Game 3. See what he can do with the plate in this third matchup between the two clubs.
You know who leads the way for Stanford? Their leadoff hitter has been a slugger. He also has home runs in each of the first 2 games.
Yeah, Sasaki, we've talked so much about him. We'll see him in that leadoff spot here as you see he's able to pull one down the right field line Friday night, and then opposite field there showing he's got power to all parts of the park.
Trying to slow Rentaro Sasaki and this Stanford lineup. Griffin Stigg goes to the mound.
Stigg for the Hokies, typical starter here on a Sunday in this rubber match. Take a look at his numbers, 1-1 on the year. He's got the 27 strikeouts to the 14 walks, going to mix 5 pitches. And again, we've talked about the offense both ways. So what pitching staff can get out to a good jump here in this Sunday finale?
It will be Rentaro Sasaki leading things off. As we are set to go, just a couple of minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock in the Eastern Time Zone. Morning start for our friends on the West Coast. Happy to have you with us wherever you're finding this one on the ACC Network. Our first pitch at 1:02. A little bit warmer today. The wind is still a bit of a factor. You probably saw that in the images that our outstanding crew brought your way in the open. It is 54 degrees at time of first pitch. We barely touched 50 throughout the course of the day yesterday. But again, winds, and as you know, those of you who have watched games at English over the years are aware which way it's blowing can be a major difference maker in this game. Hadn't mattered to this guy which way the wind's been blowing. He has given it a charge time and again. This one in the yard, and on the edge of the warning track, it will be Gates who tracks it down for the first out of the contest. Stanford's lineup with a few different looks today. Nati out of the lineup, a guy who's been consistently in there, and you see how they stand 1 through 9.
Yeah, you see McDonald getting his second start in as many days as well. Hot moves up a couple spots in the lineup. And then you see the 8-game hitting streak here.
Beyond the reach of Gibson, this works its way into right field and coasting into second base. Tokheim, a guy who was known for the pop in his bat on Friday. He was the multi-home run performer in the series opener. Works his way aboard very differently here. Well, you have already seen Gates and, of course, Gibson, who made a stab at trying to secure that one. Here's the rest of the defensive alignment for Virginia Tech.
Gibson stays over at first after Friday at third. Petrich, obviously, see him there at third base, as he was yesterday. Outfield remains the same as the Saturday start. And Stigg and Cook, the battery here for the Hokies in Game 3.
Charlie Bates, the 3-hole hitter. Happened to have missed Friday and Saturday. It was these 3 you have already seen responsible for driving in 8 of the 9 runs Stanford scored. And I referenced Tokheim's 2 homers. Sasaki had 1, Bates had 1, as they both at that point placed themselves atop of the season list for this team. Now, Sasaki with his follow-up home run yesterday comes into the finale as the standalone leader with 9 long balls on the year. But 8 home runs, 24 RBIs, pretty impressive numbers for Charlie Bates through the first 24 games of 2026. And he looks to add to that RBI total by rolling one up the middle and through. Tokheim's going to come around to score, and Stanford will enjoy an early lead in Game 3.
Well, that's well done by this Stanford offense as they're able to get out on top here in the top half of the first. Neither ball hit very hard. Tokheim pushing to the right side for the double as it settled into right. And then there, just a good job by Charlie Bates to turn it around, beat it past the infield and up the middle. Tokheim standing up here for the 1-0 lead.
Update those numbers we just gave you. Bates driving home his 25th run of the season, and that is a team-high mark for the 3-hole. It was now over at first. Moran in the cleanup spot. He made the trip up the Golden State corridor to the farm, as it is affectionately known. There in Palo Alto, Stanford, California. Sunken Diamond. How good have the first 4 batters in the lineup been in this series, particularly in Game 1? Just impressive. The way they, and we use the terminology, Andrew, set the tone for the series, because that is really the sense you received every time they came to the plate in the opener.
Yeah, they did just that on Friday, and again, it was a good answer for the Hokies on the other side. But as you saw there, hitting 500, a lot of the production in this lineup for the Cardinal coming from those top spots as they're able to do it again here in Game 3, getting to Stig early with the double and the single for a quick first run.
Just ran into a guy yesterday in Brett Renfroe who was at his very best. And he held the entirety of this lineup quiet. For the longest time, it was just Sasaki's hit all Renfroe had allowed, and it was the lone run that would come across against him before he departed after securing the first out of the 8th inning, going 7 1/3. You heard us reference it in the open. He picked up his 200th strikeout career-wise yesterday, and in all, his strikeout total at 12 was his best across the course of his career as well. Something happening with Moran here. He's going to go over and have to make an equipment adjustment. Looks like something maybe with the batting gloves.
Yeah, that's interesting there. Definitely hanging on to the same bat, but appears he's getting some fresh gloves for this at bat early.
Well, his teammates were eager. They all came out of there with a handful of batting gloves saying, take your pick. It looks like he ripped a batting glove in this first at bat of the day for the cleanup man.
Well, we saw some technology breakdown yesterday for both clubs with the earpiece for the catchers behind the plate. Now some equipment malfunction. We're getting a little bit of everything in this series between the Hokies and the Cardinal.
Well, the best part of what we've received from these two, a Sunday that matters. Series on the line in this one. On this 29th day of March. Runner on the move from first, and that throw was perfectly laid in there by Henry Cook, who will cut down the potential base stealer. That is the 3rd time Bates has been caught trying to move up this season, and as good as you're going to see from a backstop by Cook right there.
Well, without a perfect throw, you don't get them. So I appreciate the aggressive nature of Cardinal trying to get a runner in scoring position. But as you mentioned, Henry Cook on the money. Ethan Ball in there, catch and tag, and there you have it, strike 3 as well.
The momentum carries right on over to the next pitch as they strike out Moran, and the inning comes to a close. Stanford does pick one up in the opening frame, and the initial licks are coming for the Hokies on the other side of the break.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya. With rapid remission at 12 weeks and fewer bowel movements and less abdominal pain at 4 weeks. Most patients achieve remission at 1 year, and some patients saw visible healing of the intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. backed by over 15 years of clinical research. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
From the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power, the Ego 22-inch aluminum deck mower. The most powerful mower in its class, producing the perfect razor-sharp cut. Find an Ego retailer near you.
In the finale, Andrew Shaw getting the nod to start game 3.
Yeah, left-hander Shaw here with an opportunity to start strong, as we saw Stig on the other side doing so for the Hokies after yielding a run. Good damage control. Take a look at the left-hander's numbers. You see first start of the season, just 10 and 2/3 innings of work. And as Coach Esker has told us all weekend long, can expect a lot of arms from the bullpen, but it's Shaw's opportunity here with the 3-pitch mix to get the Cardinal off on the right foot and trying to throw up a 0 after his offense is able to capitalize in the top half.
Peach State product a little closer to home here as he goes to work in Blacksburg against this group for the homestanding Hokies. Luderman, of course, in 10 of the last 12, getting the job done. And we told you about Cook coming to life and obviously Gibson's power this weekend. Interestingly enough, you look at the bottom of this order, it has been productive in the same way we talk about the top of Stanford's order this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that yesterday. We talked about Cook and Gibson at the top and what they were able to do. So both of these clubs finding different ways to get it done, and obviously pretty straightforward, but this game will be about pitching and hitting and who can do it better.
Rube standing in with intention of being the spark in the finale. That's something he certainly accomplished in the Duke series 1 weekend ago. Made the Sunday count. He will lay down a bunt. Going to be a very tough play, and it is thrown away. First base side, but Karem's right back to the chasing infielder to limit Rube to just the bag at first. Now they're going to ask to look at this. The Hokies are wondering, did that work its way maybe beyond that fence area and the netting, which would mean potentially from a ground rule standpoint, Rube would have a chance to move up. Let's introduce you as Coach Schiff visits with them to the way our umpiring crew lines up across the course of this one after you get a couple of glances at this. Question, Andrew, seems to be, did it go on beyond the wall between that and the screen?
Yeah, well, first off, good job by Grube to put it down left side, make the defense work there to get things started for the Hokies. You see it there into the turf, out of the box, and down the line. Forces a quick throw and an errant throw at that, and then let's see where we end up. Looks like it hops the wall and it's at the net, so maybe an opportunity here for the Hokies to pick up that free 90.
You're going to see the wall a little better there. From that angle, almost looked like it was top of the wall. It is going to be reviewed as our umpire is going to take a look at this video-wise. And that group coming together, it was Brandon Cooper, who is behind the plate today. Jose Esteras over at first base, Gregory Street at second, Matthew Bates at third. Already busy here in the first inning as they put their collective minds and thoughts together ahead of what is now a review. Let's also, while we're waiting, give you a look at Stanford defensively. Here's how the Cardinal line up for the finale.
Pretty familiar names. Tatum Marsh back in the lineup in right as he was on Friday. McDonald shifts over to left after the start in right yesterday. In game 2, Ethan Hott pretty steady in center field. Moran, Bates, Gion, and Sasaki around the infield with Andrew Shaw, the freshman left-hander, as we touched on. Throwing it to Luke Lavin, who we've seen behind the plate for the Cardinal all weekend, at least until the later innings, as we've seen some shakeup and some moves from a personnel perspective for Coach Esker.
Again, we are under a video review after a beautiful bunt laid down by Sam Grube, which worked him aboard. And the question is whether this went beyond the wall and up against the netting, or whether it remained in play after making contact with the top of the wall. If it's the latter, he stays at first. If it's the former, then the Hokies will be looking at a runner in scoring position to start their offensive portion of the day. What'd you see there, Andrew?
Yeah, that look there looks like it hits off the top of the wall and straight up, and an opportunity for Gion to field it and bring it back. As you see Group 2, he looks to turn for second, but good job by the Cardinal to have a couple guys down there to back it up. That there, of course, we won't get the angle. You see Grube retreat thinking he's going to get the 90 on the pass ball. So good job by the Cardinal to get it if this call holds up that he's to remain at first base. They're taking a long look, but they're making their way back now, so we will have an outcome momentarily.
Well, you said we've seen a little bit of everything in this series. This is one thing we had not seen through the first 2 games, and that is a video review, which is now in effect. And it looks like, as you said, the verdict's coming.
Dead ball. Advanced to second base.
It is going to be, by virtue of the ground rules, an extra bag awarded as they determined that did go beyond the field of play. So even more bang for that initial buck as Sam Grube is down in scoring position after deciding to bunt this. And you talk about a guy at the top of the order that we just said it was trying to make his mark after maybe things going not exactly like he had hoped in the first 2 games of the series from the top spot. Sundays seemed to be his thing. He was the hero of the finale and extra innings with the walk-off that claimed the Duke series. Here he is trying on the front end of the finale of the Stanford series to help the Hokies equalize in the first frame.
Keep in mind as well, as you mentioned, not an official review from, or a challenge, if you will, from the Hokies, just a review on the field. So Hokies able to keep that in their back pocket as we go forward. And as you mentioned, good answer for Virginia Tech after the Cardinal were successful in the top half. Now a runner in scoring position, no outs, and a guy in Pete Daniel who's been very good at the plate for this Virginia Tech club.
Daniel, who had a monster Friday night with 4 hits, lifts this in the air to center. Runner is tagging, and the throw's going to be behind his arrival. The value of having your leadoff guy out at second base. Sam Grube moves up, is now 90 feet away with just a single out recorded.
Yeah, I was looking for a deep there, if I'm being honest. I thought Grube might just try to get a throw from Hott, but good aggressive base running from Virginia Tech. Cardinal challenge back there at second just to make sure he didn't leave early, but you see Hott with the catch, coming up throwing to third. Grube on his horse, and the ball just offline there. Grube in safely. Very effective with less than 2. If you're Ethan Ball now, trying to get something lifted into the outfield and tie this game at 1.
Charlie Bates rolled a single up the middle, bringing Teddy Tokheim home in the top of this inning for Stanford. Ethan Ball trying to equalize with a runner at third for the Hokies. They'll take this one in. Ball in search of what would be his 16th RBI of the season. He's got 90 at-bats under his belt in 2026.
Ball does such a good job of just staying put on those balls inner half. Those first 2 are tight to him. Really no movement from the left-handed hitter, and that one then to the other batter's box for a quick 3-0 count here from Shaw.
Yeah, keep in mind that happening in the lefty-on-lefty matchup with the southpaw atop the bump. Working from the direct middle of the rubber here. It's got that interesting little kind of herky-jerky element to his motion before he comes to the plate. Noticeable and defining characteristic of the freshman left-hander for the Cardinal.
Yeah, unique delivery indeed. You see that front shoulder dip, and then he kind of squares up one more time before he delivers. But just keep that in mind as you think about the hitters and
anything to knock off the hitter's timing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's his payoff pitch. Another will be required as this is picked up foul by Sasaki. Grube laying down a bunt after a video review. He was awarded second as the throw to first left the playing field, it was deemed. Quickly over to third, and he'll have to go back there as this is a dead ball going to come in and hit Ethan Ball. They will be on the corners with 1 away.
And that's Ball just not giving up much of the plate there as the left-handed hitter. That ball's coming at him, and he knows Hit by pitch is a free base. Would have been ball 4 as well. Takes that on the front side. And just as you mentioned, Hokies in business here with runners on the corner, getting to Luderman, the guy that we highlighted at the top. He's had a pretty good bat here the last couple of weeks for Virginia Tech and looking to do some damage.
Well, you made the point just a moment ago that on those 2 pitches that were very tight to the left-handed hitter, he barely moved. And here, as you said, Andrew, dive out of the way, it's ball 4. He ends up taking it instead. He's at first base. So, guy who stood right in there on a couple of close pitches and then experienced that one sting a little bit on a cool day. But first and third now. Stanford thinking about a way to get out of the inning all of a sudden with that runner over at first, but Luderman, the guy standing in the way. And he's going to put a charge into this left field, backing up and making the play is McDonald, but that is well deep enough for a group to tag and come home, tying the game at 1 apiece, and so much of that, the work of Virginia Tech's leadoff man in this first inning.
Yeah, McDonald really shallow on that ball there. Had a long way to go off the bat of Luderman, but well executed, getting the runner to third after the first out on a fly ball to center, and that's what helps you in the scoring category as the Hokies find a way to get it done, even it up at 1, and now Licurdo to the plate.
So Sam Grube putting pressure on the Stanford defense in the opening inning with a bunt single and a throwing error that is cashed in on that sacrifice fly from Luderman. That brings the inning to a close, though. Both teams with 1 on the board. This game as even as the series has been thus far. Today, already a win under his belt on the season.
Yeah, Stick trying to give another solid start. Following behind Brett Renfro, you see really good movement on the off-speed there. He spins it off and pitches off the fastball, but good off-speed stuff and trying to clean it up after that first inning. Take a look at that pitch type usage. He throws plenty of them, spreads the wealth well, and again, after giving up 1 in the top half, trying to find a way for a clean inning as the offense able to get it done for Virginia Tech in the bottom half. Just as you mentioned, this game as even as the series has been. Both clubs finding a way at different times to get it done. The 5-run spot in the 8th for the Cardinal on Friday for the victory, and then a solid answer for the Hokies in game 2 to even things at 1.
First pitch of this frame is going to be sent out into left center field, and that's at least a base hit for John. He was looking for more, and it's going to cost him. Thrown out at second base to open the inning. Well, he never hesitated. Thought perhaps he was going to be able to sneak in there for a double, but Virginia Tech had other thoughts, and he's retired on the base paths.
Well, again, I really like the aggressive base running from the Cardinal. Unfortunately, it has not worked out in their favor twice so far today, as Cook was able to catch Bates stealing in the first, and then there's Jan. You saw him around first, never hesitated, but give Gates credit. Perfect execution on 1 hop into ball at second base, and Ethan Ball waiting on him for the tag for out number 1.
Looked to be a momentum play heading one direction, suddenly setting up shop in that third base dugout. Run on the board for each of these teams in the opening inning. It's a reminder for you that they are solid offensively, both these squads. The question, what will happen with the arms today? Court McDonald worked his way into the lineup for games 2 and 3 after effectively pinch hitting. In fact, both of his at-bats after pinch hitting in Friday's opener were solid. He provided contributions for Stanford. McDonald, who has started about half the games this year for the Cardinal, back in the lineup in game 3, and he goes the other way. Boy, that's a nice piece of hitting. He's thinking 2, and the throw will not arrive in time this go round. A 1-out double for the Lone Star product.
Well, great piece of hitting, as you mentioned, going that way and into second safely. But how big is that throw from Gates now in the leadoff spot?
Look at Coach Dave Esker, head man at Stanford, now nearly a decade there. Think about all his time at Cal, and became known in his coaching days for the work he did there, carrying them to the World Series. But Nothing like returning home, back on the farm for the last 9 years, where he made his mark as a College World Series participant. In the late 80s, was on that College World Series squad for Stanford as a player and then carried them there as a coach. You know, that's rare air when you talk about guys who have been able to lead their alma mater to Omaha as both a player and a coach. Talk about living the dream on so many levels, and what a find he's been as the head man for this program. Stanford guy through and through. One thing we were as impressed by this week is the way he has approached the new landscape of college baseball and some of the limitations that he also deals with at Stanford in that vein, and just kind of has a, you deal with what it is and you have a positive approach and you do the best you can type mindset. And you can see that his attitude about things really rubs off on this entire team as well with their approach, Andrew.
Yeah, you could sense it. No excuses, you know, just come out and have to compete. Don't get caught up in the travel, the portal, everything that all of these coaches and programs are battling, but also benefiting from, if you will. So it's all in how you manage it. But as you mentioned, Coach Esker with a good approach and exactly the guy, this lineup that we see here that you want to play for. And Coach Esker, very positive. We've seen him throw a lot of different lineups out here, a lot of pinch hit opportunities late, leaning on his bullpen, managing that dugout and that personnel effectively, and that's why they were able to get that Game 1 victory, and very confident coming into Game 3, an opportunity to win a series on the road.
And you always know his offense is going to be strong. Guy who runs the offense, that's his forte. And why not? When you think about his own personal marks, hitting up over 350, driving home 6 in the 1987 College World Series. Part of the all-tournament team of that 87 College World Series and helped Stanford hoist the trophy. His offense looking sharp right now. This is dropped into center field, and that's going to be a reclaiming of the lead for the Cardinal. Everybody a hitter right now as the train keeps moving, and it is 2-1. Well, a reminder, a lot of baseball coming your way. Next Thursday, we've got a doubleheader right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Number 9, Virginia, hosting 10th-ranked Florida State. That's at Disharoon Park in Charlottesville, just up the road. And at 5 Eastern, Louisville and Duke squaring off at Jack Coombs Field in Durham. That doubleheader coming your way on Thursday as Easter weekend gets underway. A Thursday, Friday, Saturday series around the ACC and around the country. You can catch all that action on the ACC Network and via the all-new ESPN app, wherever you may be. 2-1 game, men on the corners, and we have our first full conversation as the entire infield gathers up around Stig to talk about it.
Well, Stig trying to find his way here. You talked about the quality offense of Coach Esker in this Stanford club. They're seeing it well. 5 hits here. There's 4 outs recorded in this Game 3. Griffin Stig working to clean things up, have some damage control here as he checks on the runner at first. Again, runners at the corner able to regain that lead after a 1-1 first inning. And again, appreciate Stanford and their aggressive approach at the plate, aggressive on the base paths as well, trying to set the tone here in the rubber match.
Looking to lay one down, runners getting ready to take off, but that's bunted foul by Tatum Marsh. Marsh, who was in the lineup in the opener on Friday, of course, part of that brother combination from Friday, as he was in support of the family connection atop the mound in the opener. Quentin Marsh from a starting standpoint. One's still on, but that one's out of the zone. You talk about everybody being a hitter in this lineup so far for the most part. Already 5 hits and the 2 runs home. They retired Sasaki and retired the cleanup man Moran. Everybody else with the base knocked thus far or some type of contribution. And moving things around or driving things in. 2 runs on 5 hits, 1 error on the board for the Cardinal. That, of course, that throwing situation on the groove bunt that ended up resulting in the Hokies' lone run in that first inning. Now 1-2, different scenario here for the 9-hole man. And we talked about the wind, and for all the discussion we had yesterday about it blowing out, steady in right now, the breeze here in Blacksburg. As you can tell by the way your paperwork's moving around over there, Andrew.
Well, again, didn't feel much wind this morning.
Here it is now, and here's one put in play on the infield. There's a collision, and out is going to be called on the middle infield.
Yeah, runner's going to come back to third here as well. So a lot happening on that one. A funny spin off the bat of Marsh at the plate. Ethan Ball coming in hard. Luke Lavin having to advance on the ball down in the infield. But they collide, and for Virginia Tech, that's a huge break as you get the out on the collision on the base paths on the right side. Base runner returning to third base on the left side. Keep it a 2-1 game. You see it over the head of Stig, and there's the contact. That's an out there. You've got Ethan Hott scoring otherwise, but unfortunately has to return to third. So 2 outs here. Runner still at the corner in a 2-1 game, but back to the top in Sasaki.
Here is Sasaki. Ritaro Sasaki homered on Friday, homered on Saturday. He's also shown just extra base hit propensity of late since he became the leadoff man in the Stanford lineup at other points this weekend as well. Puts this in play. Middle infield. Going to be a foot race to the bag, and it is won by the Hokies middle infield. In doing so, that'll hold it at just a 2-1 deficit, but a run in each half inning thus far as we head on to the bottom of 2 in game 3. A number of arms today on both sides. First out of the pen, arriving here in the bottom of inning number 2 for Stanford as Cassius Thomas takes over, a junior now atop the bump.
Yeah, expected to see the right-hander in this one. Had not seen him yet this weekend, so just 1 inning of work for the left-hander Shaw, and turns it over to Thomas, and he will work to find the first goose egg in this one as the Cardinal get 1 in the first and the second. Hokies do a good job to answer in the bottom half of 1. See what they are about here in the second inning of game 3.
Thomas is going to face the 6, 7, and 8 spots. Cook, Petrich, Gates, the scheduled batters. Offense utilizing each half inning thus far with a single run to make it a 2-1 contest. Cassius Thomas has traveled from one coast to the other in the ACC. He played a season at Duke in 2023 before working his way to Stanford. Saw his numbers from this year, and we'll talk about what he did at Stanford in his sophomore and junior seasons along the way. But he made 6 appearances for the Blue Devils in 23, including a start. 11 strikeouts and right at 6 innings of work. But returned home to the Golden State, where he made 23 appearances as a sophomore, was 1-1 through about 30 innings. And then last year, 10 times out of the bullpen, a perfect 2-0. ERA was up there at just over 10, but threw 8 innings and had 6 strikeouts in those 10 appearances, 8 of them coming in ACC games for the Los Angeles native in 2025. He too has a very unique delivery. For him, it's the starting point that catches your attention.
Yeah, that's what I've been looking at. He's very compact there. You see him come and set, really ready to push off that rubber and deliver, and you can see it in the velocity of the fastball. Come set there, glove there at the above the shoulders, and try to paint one there. Outer half looked like a pretty good pitch at 95. Cook laying off for a full count, and there you see Henry Cook after the 3-run shot yesterday. He's looking to go yard again. Execution there by Thomas. So we'll see full count here between Thomas and Cook.
Yeah, hoping to replicate the way that felt yesterday. You're right. There's the 3-2, and they'll swing through it. So a nice start as the first out of the pen for Cassius Thomas.
Again, fastball, good velocity. Cook sees a quality pitch there, full count. Give Thomas credit, executing well. 4 strike 3 and a big first out here as Petrich comes to the plate.
Guy who was a top 5 prospect in the state of California when he entered college. And the number 2 right-hander in the entirety of the baseball-rich Golden State. When he decided to travel to Durham, now back in a key piece of this Stanford pen across the last few seasons.
Now you mentioned Penn. Here we are in the second arm for Stanford. We'll keep an eye on that. We've heard a lot about by committee. Curious if they might go to that more than ever here in game 3. Shaw in the first, the lefty. Thomas here with 1 out recorded in the second, and there's an arm tossing. So we will see if we see as many arms as we do innings in this one. Coach Esker not afraid to roll them out there, keep these hitters off balance.
Did you say as many arms as we do innings?
We shall see.
All right, I got to ask you now, because I know you as a former pitcher watching this as close as anybody. Who do you feel like is in a better spot with what we saw in games 1 and 2 right now and the usage of the pieces of the puzzle that are on the table? Who's got the advantage in your mind from a bullpen standpoint?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, honestly, it might favor Stanford in that they came into this series knowing that they were going to lean on the bullpen and not a guy that was really going to get stretched out in the starting role. On the other side, you get Brett Renfro yesterday, who dominates through 7 1/3, but then things really collapsed for the Hokies as it took 3 arms to get through the remainder of that 8th inning. And a guy like Swift, who you would have very much expected coming in today to follow Griffin Stig, has to get extended a little bit out of the bullpen to wrap things up in game 2.
First pitch, a strike to Gates. But you know he loved what he saw from Brett Renfro yesterday. We had a chance to talk to him in the midst of things, and he was discussing just how valuable, not only in yesterday's game 2 of this series, but from a career standpoint, Brett Renfro has been for the Hokies.
Yeah, just that reliable veteran arm. And as we touched on going into that one, Cardinal able to get it done in game 1. They had to have an answer, shrink the bullpen a little bit. Again, a theme that we'll talk about the remainder of today. And Brett Renfro for Virginia Tech able to do that with racking up the strikeouts, as you mentioned earlier, able to reach 200 in his career. So a big day for the right-hander. And had the bats behind him on the other side. As take a look, a little bit of a yawn there, trying to dial in here and help his club find a way to even up in a 2-1 ball game.
Why wouldn't he be a little tired after all that work yesterday? Career-long outing amongst everything else. And, of course, Coach Sheff, who you saw there just a moment ago, his team in a spot with Sam Gates at the plate here. Runner board, 1 down, 1-run game in the early stages. His team in position to claim back-to-back ACC series here at home. It's not lost on him, Andrew, nor is it lost on those around the Hokies program what's coming schedule-wise and how important it would be to secure this one today for that kind of lift. It's going to be a while before you come back with Pitt in town and then NC State on the backside of that. You got some work to do on the road between here and there. So big day today, and that's a big pitch out of the bullpen for Thomas, who has a couple of strikeouts, still working with that base runner over at first, though.
Yeah, I think to your point, as you take a look at the strikeout here, Thomas executing well. Fastball just below the belt, inner half. Big second out as you touch on Petrich down at first. But again, a decisive game 3 from a series standpoint for these two clubs, but a pivotal one at that for both as they try to find a way to win the series and carry some momentum as they go forward. Stanford with an opportunity to go home with a series win on the road here and take on Clemson over the Easter weekend. And as you mentioned on the other side, Virginia Tech trying to keep things going, get a Duke series here last weekend, a chance to get another one here at home before going the other direction and getting on the road for a little bit before they're back home. So a very important game for both of these teams, not just for the series, but for the road ahead.
The Hokies on the road, even in the midweek. They go to Radford, make that short trip here in the New River Valley to close out the month of March before traveling to South Florida for the 3-game series. And they'll come home just long enough to take on another inside the Commonwealth foe in Liberty on April 7th. before traveling to the Northeast, Boston College. And that series all of a sudden looking much different after Boston College took the first 2 games and in impressive fashion yesterday. A 17-0 run rule shortened affair against UVA. So at Miami, at Boston College, after a midweek contest at Radford with just the Liberty game sandwiched in between, it's going to be a road journey from here. They'd like to carry some momentum onto the bus as they get ready for those travels in the first part of the month of April. Full count with 2 down and a runner at first to Ethan Gibson. Sudden power surge for the guy at the plate this weekend. Very welcomed by Hokies fans. And this is fouled off. Remember, we talked about it. He had gone 60-plus games with at least a plate appearance in between his first and second collegiate homers. And then followed up with that third one 1 day later, having homered in back-to-back games this weekend. This time it's Patience that owns the day. Runners at first and second as he draws the walk on the 3-2 pitch.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty good pitch there. Again, like what you see from Thomas so far in this inning. Couple strikeouts, swinging for Henry Cook, and then looking for Gates. Couple walks on either side of that most recent strikeout to put 2 aboard. But good firm fastball, doing a good job of keeping it down in the zone. And now we'll turn it over to the top for the first time in Sam Grube. See if Grube can do some damage, or if Thomas is able to keep this a 2-1 ball game in favor of the Cardinal.
Who can forget what Grube did in his opening AB? Going the exact opposite direction here by trying to put a charge into one, but that's in the yard. In the end, it is in the glove of Tatum Marsh to drop the curtain on the second frame. First scoreless half inning on either side as the Stanford pin is in effect in a 2-1 game. Sure, the baskets are coming. We'll have a doubleheader coming your way from Durham. It begins with the 6th-ranked men hosting Virginia. That's at noon. And then at 4 o'clock, 17th-ranked women will host 5th-ranked Syracuse. That's Duke lacrosse. Both those available to you on the ACC network and the ESPN app next Saturday. You ready for Easter?
Ready as we're going to be, I suppose.
It's coming. I know you're all in the thick of travel ball right now from a standpoint of being a dad, and at some point the Easter basket's going to be mixed in there as we work our way toward the weekend.
I do get a weekend off next weekend. They're up in Salem right now playing, so early morning up there before back for some baseball here in Blacksburg.
Got plenty to celebrate, certainly what it means, what it stands for, all it's about. A very happy Easter. Let us be among the first as we're a week away to say a very happy Easter to you wherever you are as you get set for hopefully a lot of spring weather coming everybody's way. Temperature's supposed to tick up a little bit, we're told, as we go toward the month of April. Tokheim going into left with this, and it appears as if that's going to settle down into the glove of Licurdo. It will. Tokheim, that was right at 100 off the bat, 98 to be specific, and he had designs on what he did a couple of times on Friday with that swing.
Yeah, and it was that same swing, too. It doesn't seem to get fully extended, but that ball travels a long way. Good job by Licurdo. You see him get all the way to the wall at Blacksburg Eye Associates down there in left field and then creep back in a couple steps just in front of the track for the out. But Tokheim showing plenty of power this weekend as he already picks up his first hit and his first at bat for his 9-game hitting streak.
Little tapper off the end of the bat here. And that'll be handled beautifully for the second out of the inning. Yeah, one of the storylines coming in, would he be able to extend that streak? Now on the doorstep of double digits as Tokheim took care of that, took the drama of that away in his opening AB. But though he gave it a ride, is retired here. Bates also taken care of behind him. It's up to Moran if Stanford is to do anything with a third. Cardinal having scored in each of the first 2 innings, a single run both times to take a 2-1 lead. And looks like there's going to be an offensive conference here. Talked about how Coach Esker, his fingerprints all over Stanford's offensive approach. It's been his forte and leading this group all the way to Omaha at times. And this conversation, a fairly brief one with his cleanup man.
I think this is slow the game down here, as we saw 2 quick outs, one to the left side and Lacurdo, and then Griffin Stig on the PFP does a great job of fielding his position, picking up the funny spin there off the turf, and a nice lob over to Gibson for the second out. But that third one comes as quick, and the defense is right back out there. So he saw plenty of time there visiting with his head man, and now ready to step back in the box.
Strategic use of one of those offensive conferences by the head Cardinal. Moran, his first AB, was struck out, one of 27 strikeouts for Hokies pitching across the course of the weekend. Of course, you know where 12 of those came from in yesterday's second game of the series, the good work of Brett Renfro. It's been a staff-wide theme across these 3 days. No strikes here in this AB just yet. 3-0 the count. And Stig works to the sophomore cleanup man. On deck. He won't bat just yet as that finds the zone. Stig will try and come all the way back in this AB. Up over 40 pitches thrown now as he works in the third. Finds the zone again. Count runs full.
Great job by Stig to get back in there after 3 consecutive balls. But only as good as this pitch here. 3-2, trying to find a way to get out of this one here with the first 0 for the Cardinal.
The 1-2-3 inning eludes him as ball 4 is off the plate away.
A good job by Moran to earn that walk. Again, 3-0. Stig gets in there with 2. But doesn't chase that one there. J.J. Moran, as he's down to first, as you mentioned, breaks up the clean inning. Forces a few more pitches for Stig, and one theme that we have not touched on today, but we have seen all weekend, both of these clubs doing a lot with 2 outs. So we'll see what that 2-out walk means in this one here in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, the team's combining for 15 2-out hits in the opener on Friday, and yesterday Virginia Tech carried that theme over as much of the noise in the Hokies Game 2 victory was of the 2-out variety. Tacking on 5 more of those knocks of the 2-out flavor. Moran has swiped 4 bags, been caught a couple of times this year. They'll check on him to that end. You remember the previous AB for Gion. It was a single, but he was thrown out trying to stretch it into a double.
Yeah, great play all around. Hit hard, no hesitation at first, but excellent throw by the center fielder for the Hokies, Gates, as he puts it on the money. Good pitch outer half for Stig. Fastball framed up well by Cook for strike 1.
Guy who had 3 hits in back-to-back games in the final 2 games of that Utah Valley series last weekend. Gion was starting to find it at the plate himself. Of course, that was a 15-9 and a 15-6 victory, those final 2 games, of what was a 4-game sweep of Utah Valley. And Stanford rolled into Blacksburg, enjoying the momentum from. Put up some runs in that series. Those 2 15-run explosions not even the high water mark. It was a 17-10 victory in Game 2 after they took the opener 4-3. That provided the largest offensive tally in that Utah Valley weekend there at Sunken Diamond. So on a big part of it. Finds himself in a 1-2 hole here. That just misses.
I see a big smile there from Griffin Stig on the 1-2. Hoping to bring up Gion there with the 2 outs. 2-2 instead.
Gets him to swing through this offering, and that will bring the inning to a close.
Yeah, Stig able to execute. Thought he had it on the previous pitch. Fastball firm. Spins one there as Gion swinging through. First 0 for the Cardinal on the offensive side. 2-1 ball game here in Game 3.
Around the ACC, of course, Florida State, a couple of games separation from everyone else right now, off to a strong start. But the highlighted 2 teams battling it out in this one, a reminder of just how packed things are in the middle of the pack and beyond in the ACC right now, Andrew.
Yeah, a good weekend puts you really back in the thick of things, and that's why every game is so important. On the road, want to find a way to win one. At home here for Virginia Tech, trying to find a way to win a series. But as you mentioned, you take a look at that, everyone in the mix, Florida State, Carolina, Georgia Tech, kind of standing out. We've touched on BC and what they've been able to do against number 9 Virginia. We'll keep an eye on that one today. But here we are, Game 3, Virginia Tech trying to win a series.
Yeah, think on this. You're 14th in the league, and you're just 3 games off the pace of the team that sits second in the league right now. That's how compact things are. Back to the pen for Stanford, and this is going to be a familiar refrain, no doubt, throughout the course of the day. So far, so good in keeping the lead intact, as Brock Kettleson is the latest to be called upon here.
Yeah, I see Kettleson here, 17 innings of work, and as you mentioned, a third arm in as many innings, but why not? If you got 9 guys that can get 3 outs and you get some offensive production, got a pretty good opportunity to win that rubber match. Appears to be the approach right now for Coach Esker. As Kettleson steps aboard here to see 2, 3, 4, and Pete Daniel, Ethan Ball, and Hudson Luderman.
Valley Christian High School product, a guy out of San Jose, Scotts Valley, California, where he calls home. To be specific, the freshman.
So freshman, senior, freshman here for the arms.
How about that?
For Stanford so far.
That is by a diving Sasaki over at first and into right field. Pete Daniel, the base knock on this Sunday to go with his stellar opening game in this weekend series.
Yeah, Daniel's been good on the defensive side. We touched on Clay Grady Friday, not in the lineup yet this year for Virginia Tech. A very reliable defensive shortstop. Daniel stepping up, having a great year at shortstop, both in the field and at the plate. Able to get the Hokies started here as they continue to chase one. Ball working in the lefty-lefty matchup, and again staying firm on the inner part of that plate there, really making it difficult. Saw a lefty in the first, seeing another lefty in Kettleson here, and 2 misses so far for a 2-0 count.
Make it 3. It was on a 3-2 pitch that he was hit in his previous AB. Takes a look at strike 1.
Good take by Ball, good execution by Kettleson to get in the zone. Hitters count here.
ball 4. Another thing you notice and you hear by their reaction, good crowd today. You see them packed in right behind home plate. They love what they're seeing in this inning from the Hokies, who now have a couple aboard. Enjoying a little sunshine on this day. Gotta love it. What better way to start them out than with a little baseball? Stanford going to gather up and talk about it. There's something brewing for Virginia Tech in the bottom of inning number 3.
As a quick mound visit here, just a chance to reset. 5 hits for the Cardinal, just 2 for the Hokies, 1 run to show for, but Hokies taking advantage of the leadoff single from Pete Daniel, and then Ethan Ball hit by pitch in his first at bat, doing a good job there to earn another free pass. 2 aboard, nobody, and Cardinal know they want to keep this one close as Luderman steps in.
Luderman already responsible for finding a way to plate 1 in this contest. Corner infielders in on that turf shaded as grass. Again, all this happening with nobody out.
Defense pretty straight up. Gion shading just enough to keep Daniel tight at second.
And now Sasaki moving back. He's behind that, what we would consider to be the cut of the grass.
I see pretty shallow corners again in the outfield for the Cardinal. Wind, I guess, is coming in just enough towards third base rather than blowing out as it typically would here at English Field.
That'll take care of the first out of the inning on the strikeout. Well, we're just talking about what a nice crowd it has been on this Sunday, and James Franklin enjoying a little ACC baseball. Of course, the spring game coming up next month, April 18th, and that anticipation of a great crowd, looking for 65,000 across the way as he and the Hokies prepare for gridiron action this fall. A lot of energy around James Franklin's arrival here in Blacksburg.
A lot of energy indeed, and a lot of work. Coach Franklin coming in and really getting after it, bringing in a new staff and working on personnel on the field and facilities improvements, and a lot happening at once. So as you mentioned, an exciting chapter for the Virginia Tech Athletic Department and for Virginia Tech football.
One more time, that's April 18th, the spring game. Go ahead and circle it. And if you're where you can, plan to be a part of that 65,000 on the 18th day of April. Hokies baseball team looking for a series win this weekend as the football head man looks on. And this, right now, the most promising inning thus far. A couple of base runners out there. Hokies scored 1 in the first, and they're looking for more here in the third. Set to toss the bat aside. Licurdo has to hang on to it as that was a called strike. Runs the count full.
Yeah, right-handed hitter trying to sell one there. Looked like a pretty good pitch from Kettleson to get to 3-2.
Fights one off. It'll stay 3 balls, 2 strikes. Five hits for the Cardinal. That was the case in the first couple of innings. 2 hits for the Hokies. Both teams leaving 3 aboard today. 2 out there right now for Virginia Tech. There's ball 4. The bases loaded for the Hokies. loaded for a guy who's already made his mark on this series.
Well, really trying to make his mark, get on track after a tough start to the season. You see that one there, nothing tough about it. Lifted into left field off the pitching lab for the 3-run shot in the second inning yesterday, and exactly what Virginia Tech and this backstop are looking for as he tries to get going. Batting average up to 178, the 2 home runs to show for. He did strike out in his first attempt here today, trying to capitalize here with the bases loaded.
4 for 6 with 2 walks during the weekend series. You see how that differs from where he was entering these 3 with the Cardinal. Batting average climbing from 0.56 on the 6th of March to where you see it at this juncture. Just to underscore that for you.
And we saw the arm and what he was able to do behind the plate, which is why he finds himself in the lineup. Coach Sheff knows a guy that can get going pretty quickly, and as you mentioned, seen it here so far this weekend, hoping to continue it here.
Bases loaded, 1 away, a 3-ball, 1-strike count. Hitter's opportunity for Cook right now. He'll take ball 4. Merry-go-round in effect to tie the game at 2 apiece on a bases-loaded walk to the Hokies backstop.
Yeah, good job by Cook to be patient there. Obviously sees a tremendous opportunity, a guy with good power. We saw that yesterday in the second inning as you saw the highlight of the long ball. But knows a guy, and Kettleson is struggling here as the second arm out of the pen for the Cardinals. Stays patient, earns the walk, a walk's a run, and we're all tied at 2.
Glance down to the bullpen. There is a right-hander throwing down there for Stanford as we speak. Bases remain loaded. Petrich at the plate now. It's going to buy a little time for that right-hander, one would think, is a long, slow walk out to the mound from Luke Lavin to talk things over with Kettleson. You see how the 24 pitches he has thrown to this point have been split. 14 of them out of the zone. It's early, but this has the feel of one of those pivotal moments. Now dual action down there. Actually, you take a look there now that he brings his hands together. We got one getting ready, and we've got one getting warm. So it is the right-hander continuing to throw. Gomez, who we saw earlier this weekend, would be the next in line. Wind whipping through the jersey of the Stanford lefty as he is backed against the wall here with the bases loaded, 1 away.
Yeah, going to stay here with him for now, too. So just a visit from his battery mate, an opportunity.
Well, that was one chance to slow it down. Here's the other, as now it is going to be the entire infield gathering up, and the coaching staff becomes involved. Just buying a little time with that conversation from the battery. Now the change is being made. Stanford back to the pen with the Hokies threatening in a major way. What's now a tie ball game, bottom of 3. Featured in a softball doubleheader coming your way next Saturday. It starts with 10th-ranked Florida State hosting Notre Dame at Joanne Graff. That's at 2, and then, of course, at 6 p.m. Hokies and Tigers. Clemson rolling into Blacksburg. Both games available ACC Network, ESPN app, coming your way next Saturday. Hokies currently lead it 14-0. And just as we say it, score notching up another run. 15-0 the score, a 12-run second inning being utilized by Virginia Tech as they lead Boston College, having made the trip northeast this weekend. You want to catch them next Saturday. Here on the baseball diamond, guy we saw once this weekend already. Cohen Gomez is back as the latest out of the Stanford pen.
Yeah, Gomez coming in a tough spot here. Bases loaded, 1 out recorded. Hokies being patient at the plate. Left-hander Kettleson struggled to find the strike zone. Virginia Tech able to take advantage and earn a run back in the bottom half of the third for a 2-2 tie. And now Petrich, Gates, and Gibson with opportunities here in the bottom part of the lineup. Again, bases loaded, and Hokies looking for more.
Ball at third, Licurdo at second, Henry Cook over at first. After he drew that bases loaded walk to tie the game. Petrich also drew a walk. That was back in inning number 2. Hokies primed to take the lead and then some right now. The 6th batter of the inning at the plate. That'll take a 1-1 count, make it 1-2 as he fouls this back.
Yeah, tall, lanky right-hander. Saw much of the same in his first appearance this weekend. A lot of confidence out there, really going after these hitters. See him talking to himself a little bit. Dialed in.
A lot of personality for each of these relievers we have seen from Stanford today, whether it be in the windup, whether it be in the pitching motion in general, or in this case, what it takes to get himself ready to throw one after the other. Here's his 2-2. Works out. A strikeout of Petrich to leave him loaded, with now 2 down here in the third.
Well, that's a huge second out. Again, Gomez coming in a tough spot. Buries one. Great job by Lavin behind the plate. Keep it in front. Shows the secured catch for the out. And a big second out.
So that leaves him at every base for now. As we said, leave him loaded with no movement there. Can he leave him loaded in full by taking care of the Hokies' 8-hole man? It's going to be up to Gates if Virginia Tech is to claim the advantage. I talk about a prime opportunity, but it has been a familiar refrain across the course of the weekend that Virginia Tech relishes its 2-out opportunities. Trying to take away anything beyond the norm. Moran was all the way in and will stay there on that third base side. It's hit the other way. Through Sasaki, pitcher's covering, and a little toss just in time to see to it that Stanford drops the curtain on the bottom of the third with simply the 1 run scored. Nice play there on the carom to make sure it stays tied.
Yeah, 3-4-1 there. One most important, and Gomez covering on the right side. A great job by the right-hander to come in and get those final 2 and keep it a 2-2 ball game here in Blacksburg.
In games this weekend, 2 apiece on the scoreboard. Today, just as even as the series has been. Hokies fans enjoy one more look at Virginia Tech before they go on the road for a bit. We move on into the 4th inning. Boy, well played so far. This game's had a number of twists and turns, and still very much up for grabs. The game and the series, as 6, 7, and 8 are due up for Stanford here in the 4th. Starters still in there for the Hokies. That is the opposite story from what we've seen out of the first base dugout for Stanford thus far. You know, you take a look at what the Cardinal have done. It's been Shaw, Thomas, Kettleson, and then Gomez came in, and boy, did he change the complexion of what looked like it might be a monster bottom of the third inning, really settling things to keep it tied.
That was huge from the right-hander. Did a great job to get the strikeout, and then a ball on the right side. Didn't give up on it. Found his way over to first as Sasaki wasn't in a position to receive the ball. Good job by the defense to record that final out and no more damage.
Sasaki's counterpart hasn't come his way now. Gibson and company handle that on the right side for the first out of this 4th inning. Yes, Sasaki dove, and he disrupted it enough that it created an opportunity for the play that would end it. And then here's the Hokies' response on the other side. Little PFP for both guys in recent moments.
Yeah, Stig with 2 chances in this one. One a catch and throw, and then that one there doing a good job to take the banana route down to first, be in a good position to receive it from Gibson on the 3-1 putout.
Of course, we're talking about pitcher fielding practice, something I know you were very familiar with in your time roaming these hills. It pays off in the moments that matter. Here's Ethan Hott with 1 away. Stig bouncing one and the other batter's box, make it 2-1. Stig, of course, another of those Commonwealth natives on this roster. It's one thing you notice about Virginia Tech. Certainly Stanford has it to some degree as well. A lot of Californians, baseball-rich area there. But you love, in a time where it's not as prevalent as perhaps it once was, to see so many Virginians contributing to what Tech is doing up and down the roster here in 2026. They play well behind the Virginian here as a 6-3 put out takes care of out number 2. You can tell us where McLean is, right?
Yeah, home for me, Northern Virginia. And I was going to say, to your point, back a long time ago, this Virginia Tech roster was heavy Northern Virginia. And I feel like there was some good and bad in that. Obviously getting the best players out of the best parts of the state to participate here in Blacksburg, but also want to be a little more diverse and be able to go and get guys across the country, which to your point you see more of here as of late. But I think the message is, if you can't win the in-state, you're going to find yourself in trouble. So for Virginia Tech and for Stanford and very different locations, it's very important to recruit in your backyard and then go beyond to find a way to solidify the roster and bring in the right culture and the right recipe from a personnel standpoint.
Yeah, you still got a great crop of guys from right here in the Commonwealth making their mark. Got a chance to visit with Brett Renfro coming up. Going to be interesting to hear his personal take on what was a milestone day yesterday. He's a big part of the reason Virginia Tech is in position to try and claim the series on this Sunday. You'll want to stick around and hear his thoughts. What can you say about the job he did yesterday? You think on 200 strikeouts, that speaks to what he's been for his career. But in a single day, you put your longest outing, your highest strikeout total, all together with it. It'll be remembered. This swing will be as well. That is a no-doubter to right field and a reclaim of the lead for the Stanford Cardinal. It has been their most used weapon across the course of the weekend, and Lavin joins the group now, having used the long ball effectively as he makes it 3-2.
Yeah, looked very similar to the one from Sasaki on Friday into that bullpen. So heads up for the teammates there as he comes back to the dugout celebrating that shot there as they're able to regain the lead. So a lot of ones on the board. And maybe that one, the biggest one at the moment in the 8th spot for Lavin, as he's able to get to that one. And down the line, you see Grube runs out of room in a hurry, hands up for the Cardinal bullpen. Then a 3-2 ball game for the visitors.
This team, having already hit up over 50 home runs in their now just over 25 games played in 2026. So that tells you it's happening each time the Cardinal lace them up. I mean, you consider that even in yesterday's outcome, Sasaki able to drive one out of the yard. You know what you're going to get from this team offensively, that's sure. Here's Tatum Marsh, the 9-hole man. Into fielder's choice his last time up on the right side. Goes right side again here. And that's going to be handled for the final out of the inning. That'll leave Sasaki to lead it off in the 5th. Again, we get a chance to hear from Brett Renfro coming your way in what is a 3-2 game as Stanford reclaims the lead. yesterday in terms of strikeouts and length, and he equalized this series for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, you just see good pitching here from the right-hander, exactly what Virginia Tech needed. Plenty of looks at the strikeouts as he comes off there. Again, 200 for the career, and a quality start for the right-hander to even things up and make for a good Game 3 here in Blacksburg.
Brett, thanks for taking a moment to join us midstream here. Obviously, you gave a lot of memories to the fans here in Blacksburg. Yesterday and across the course of your career, what are your memories from that outing, which evened the series yesterday?
Well, it was a lot of fun memories, of course, but I mean, it was just exciting to be out there, and it was a nice day, and got to compete with all the boys, so it was just fun.
What was working for you yesterday?
I feel like I attacked the zone with just my fastball cutter for me, and then kind of put guys away with the curveball, and kind of mixed well, so kind of worked out for me.
Yeah, Brett threw it really well, and as you were having a great day on the mound, we had an opportunity to chat with Coach Sheff in game. Asked him about Henry Cook, yourself, and what some of these veteran guys mean to this club, and obviously he had a lot of great things to say. I just wanted to ask you, what's your experience been in Blacksburg, Virginia Tech? What can you reflect on, and what's been so special for you to be a part of this group?
Well, what's special is this fan base here. It's amazing. Every game they show out, cold, snowy, whatever it is, they always come out, and it's fun to have that on your side when you're playing. So that's one of the best memories I've had here.
Tell you, the guy at the plate right now who just laced another single into left field, he's putting together a pretty good weekend so far, huh?
Oh, yeah.
What can you say about Ethan Gibson?
I mean, he's a true leader. That guy just works his butt off. I mean, every day he doesn't change, so it's really cool to see his process, and I'm happy to see these outcomes for him right now.
And tough shoes to fill as well as we go back to the defensive side and the pitching for your group. Griff out today trying to follow in your footsteps. What have you seen from him as another leader of this club?
Yeah, well, he's got a great experience and a great knowledge, so it's really cool to have him and kind of mentoring the younger guys, and it's just really cool to have him on the team and kind of just teaches people the routines and kind of helps people kind of learn their pitches, so it's kind of cool to have him.
Last one for me, obviously new pitching coach in town for you guys. We've talked to you before about the technology and everything that you guys have in front of you from a resource standpoint. Just talk about the changes, the lab, the coaching from a personnel standpoint, and how that's played into the season so far.
Yeah, so Doug's done a great job with just kind of helping us understand our arsenal and understanding what our pitches are and what our pitch selection should be, and understanding hitters. And the lab has helped us a lot with that, with TrackMan and Edgertronic video to see slow motion of your pitch grips and kind of your metrics of your grips. So it's really cool, and it's helped us out a lot.
Well, again, very nice job yesterday. I know that's one that you'll remember long after the playing days are over. It was certainly something to be a part of, and we appreciate that. Appreciate you, and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, his effort yesterday, evening the series between Virginia Tech and Stanford. Hokies looking to even up the ball game right now as they trail by one, but just worked a runner into scoring position. That had the potential, that last play. You saw a couple of looks at it. For Stanford to turn two, weren't able to complete that in the middle infield. As a result, Gibson now out there for the taking as Daniel goes to work here.
Yeah, last 6 outs I think will be big. Wanted to focus on Brett there. As you mentioned, tremendous job yesterday. But as you turn back to the game, the bases loaded in the last bottom half for Virginia Tech. And Gomez able to come in and get out of that jam. Could really play a big part in this game. Obviously a lot of baseball left. Turn it around, they come back up. And after shutting down the Hokies with the bases loaded, they get the solo shot from Lavin to get the lead back at 3-2. And then give Griffin Stig credit. Finds a way to get out of it there as well shortly after that home run. So just kind of a momentum killer both ways. Stanford on the better side to take the 3-2 lead, but you can see that little cat and mouse going on in Game 3 as both clubs try to remain in this one and find a way to be relevant at the end.
Yeah, this is going to fall in right field, station to station from second to third. They will be on the corners with one away. The weekend, the strong weekend, continues for Pete Daniel. Just another nice piece of hitting for a guy who had 4 of them in the opener. Vision of things to come, and has a multi-hit game again. That's the first time today Virginia Tech has been able to make something happen with a runner in scoring position. The question is, can they get that tying run home from third now?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hats off to Gomez. An inning ago came in a real jam and did a good job to work out with the strikeout to Petrich, and then Sam Gates on the ground to the right side, covering up the base. The pitcher did for a good job in a third out. But Hokies in business again and trying to have a different result here.
What'd you hear from Brett Renfro there? One thing that shined in that interview certainly came through, his appreciation for wearing the Hokies uniform.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the recognition to the fan base. That was kind of his go-to. Obviously a lot to be thankful for here in Blacksburg. I wanted to touch on the resources, knowing what these guys are able to have in front of them from a facility standpoint. Obviously goes a long way with recruiting for him as a pitcher in the lab. That's the newest piece to the puzzle here in Blacksburg, but you could just hear and feel thankful, you know, for the opportunity. And it's important to see that from these student athletes who have such a tremendous opportunity to play on a big stage, but if you can appreciate it and embrace it, makes it really special. And you can feel that in Brett.
Working into some mound technology as we speak that has helped improve that pitching lab. Some technology that really only handful, 12 to 15 programs across the country with some of the technology that's been added in there. So you said it, major commitment being made to helping these young men become their very best. And you can see that paying dividends on days like yesterday when he has the kind of outing he put together. All right, Ball needing to make something happen with a 2-strike count in effect here. Men on the corners and one down. And he's going to send that up along the terrace. Did that catch the chair at the gate? I mean, could you do that again if you tried?
No, could not. And back to that point on Brett, I love to ask about the resources and the technology and everything that goes with it, because it's nothing that existed 20 years ago.
Right.
You have to live through these guys, you know, feel like you're a part of it.
How nice that must have been.
That's right.
To have those opportunities for sure. It is a one-run game. Hokies with that runner at third base. As the 1-2 is down, make it 2-2. Working our way through the middle frames. What has been a bullpen day for Stanford. Stig, of course, still there for the Hokies. They try to at least even things up for him, if not give him an advantage here in the fourth. A little check of Pete Daniel over at first base. Chopped down at home plate. A single from Ethan Gibson while we were talking to Brett Renfro. And Brew put the ball in play that ended up being simply an out at first base. Gibson around to third on Pete Daniels' single into right. That is where we are in this bottom of the fourth frame. Fouled off again.
Good job by here, Ball, to fight through it. That was a quality pitch from Gomez, and not a whole lot he can do with it from the left-handed box, but able to push it away. See another pitch here, 2-2, runners at the corners, and trying to find a way.
Swing and a miss. And there is a major second out secured by Cohen Gomez.
Yeah, another big reaction there from the tall right-hander, and you see he comes in there again. Saw that for the strikeout against Petrich an inning ago, and trust his off-speed stuff. He's fired up here. Opportunity to shut down the Hokies again, leaving 5 base runners in the last 2 innings. If he can execute here and find a third out with 3 infielders to the left side, Luderman going that way, hard hit, but well foul.
The sophomore out of Anaheim Hills, California. As you said, Andrew, on the verge. If he can do something with Luderman, who is responsible for a Hokies run already with his sac fly earlier in the game. Runner moving from first. They will, on appeal, assess a second strike on Luderman. He's behind in the count 0-2.
Yeah, Luderman frustrated with that call. You could see Coach Elbin from the dugout asking Luderman to take a breath here. Still has a strike left. Now 2 in scoring position. Base hit gives him the lead.
Fouled off his body by Luderman. It's been quite a month of March. 17 for 53, couple of doubles, 3 home runs, 14 scored, and 14 driven home, including today. For the guy at the plate. All that working to raise his season average more than 50 points, up toward the doorstep of 300. He'll put this in play. Shortstop ranges behind the bag. Another strong pick over there by Sasaki, the difference maker. And bringing the inning to a close. The opportunity turned aside by this Stanford D to keep it 3-2. For Rintaro Sasaki, who has already eclipsed his power numbers from a season ago, having homered in each of the first 2 contests of the weekend, he is set to lead things off as the powerful top of the order for Stanford is due as we push toward the middle of this one. He has left his mark here in Blacksburg. He has literally left his mark here in Blacksburg, taken out a part of the tee in batting practice yesterday with a wooden bat. Shattered that tee atop the scoreboard. A little window into just how much pop is in the bat of Rintaro Sasaki.
Well, just to reiterate, you mentioned wooden bat. That's the top of the scoreboard there, without any screening, of course. Losing a little bit of the T and the E, so doing the math on the distance of that ball, Sasaki can hit it a long way. And as you saw in the package, he's done it here this weekend to the right side and the left, as Griffin Stig does a good job again to get that final out in the last half before getting it back to the top with the runner aboard. Working cleanly here is certainly helpful for the right-hander, but a great job on the other side by Gomez, holding on to a 3-2 lead and leaving 5 runners stranded for the Hokies in the last 2 frames.
And for the foreseeable future, those who were here for BP yesterday and saw him put that moment together with the wooden bat will be able to point up at the scoreboard here at Virginia Tech and say, yep, that was Rintaro Sasaki when he and the Stanford Cardinal rolled through for the first time ever. He's going to be robbed here on a nice play by the shortstop, Pete Daniel. There's a defensive moment to go with all of his offensive production along the way this weekend. Very nicely done. Actually, Petrich, take a look there with where he was positioned well. This is a very nice stab.
Yeah, just one defender to the left side with the shift in play. Sasaki thinks that's through, head down, running towards first, but Petrich able to extend, and just as you said, a great play for a first out.
He was right where he needed to be at pretty much the shortstop position, and Petrich stabbing a bid for Sasaki's latest hit. Nicely done. Here's Tokai. Big weekend for him as well, including his double in the first inning, after which he came around to score the first run of the ball game. Multi-home run day in Friday's opener.
You can see Stig trying to work at a pretty quick clip here. Had 1-2, able to get that quick out for Sasaki. Back on the rubber. Seeing a lot of off speed from the right-hander. See if he stays with it. Has to run one away there.
Keep in mind, having held Sasaki to 0 for 3 today, giving up a single hit to Tokai, a single hit to Bates, just those 2 hits out of the top 4 spots in the order. in game 3 thus far. He's up over 70 pitches now as well. That was his 73rd pitch delivered. As he remains, you know, you get a starter into the 5th on a Sunday, and perhaps beyond, it can be a luxury. Although he will lose Tokheim here and deal with a base runner with 1 out. What are your thoughts on Stig's overall outing thus far?
Yeah, I think he's competing well. 6 hits total. You mentioned just the 2 at the top of the lineup, the bats that have been so dangerous for the Cardinal this weekend. But just fighting through, a lot of base runners having to navigate that. They've been aggressive on the base paths. Had some help from Henry Cook early with the runner thrown out down at second base. Great job by his center fielder as Gion gave the double a bit earlier in this one as well for a big out. But the right-hander, as you expected, is competing. Is going to get a first pitch out here into center field on an F8. And now an out away from getting through 5 innings of work. But give the Cardinal credit. Again, 6 hits, 3 runs.
And add it all up, they lead it 3-2. More baseball coming your way. A doubleheader right here on the ACC Network. You can catch it on the ESPN app from anywhere. That's 9th-ranked Virginia hosting 10th-ranked Florida State in Charlottesville. And that'll be followed by Louisville and Duke squaring off in Durham. That's Thursday as all those Easter weekend series get underway. Just a few days from now. Of course, that Seminoles squad coming into the Commonwealth to take on UVA, right now pacing the ACC atop the standings after a strong start for Link Jarrett and company. Here's the 1-0, and that's going to be into left field. All the way down into the corner, digging for third, Tokheim, and it's gathered up out there pretty quickly, so it'll be second and third, 2 away after the stand-up double.
Oh, good piece of 2-out hitting there, too. 2 in scoring position now. Virginia Tech opportunities in the last 2 frames. Again, go back to the third. They leave them loaded, only scratch 1 across. And then second and third in the last frame, unable to get anything. Gomez doing a good job to keep runners from scoring for Virginia Tech. Turn it around, Cardinal here now, and Gion, who put 1 in the gap, left center, has an opportunity, 2 more aboard, and get the Cardinal a 2 or 3 run lead here halfway through this ball game.
Now the 2-out hits today belong to Stanford thus far. They are 2 for 6, including what you just saw, with 2 outs in game 3. Gion has 1 of the singles thrown out trying to stretch it to a double. That was all the way back in inning number 2. Struck out in his most recent at bat in the 3rd. Stig needing to retire him of any variety right now to keep it a 1-run game. Closing in on the midway point of game 3, and Virginia Tech just decided to give him the intentional free pass, so the base is loaded for Coach Dave Esker and Stanford. We will hear from the head man of the Stanford Cardinal coming up at the start of the next half inning. You want to stick around and get his thoughts on this weekend series, his club's first trip to Blacksburg. He goes with McDonald in the lineup for a 2nd straight day after using him as a pinch hitter on Friday, and he comes up in a huge spot here with the bases loaded, 2 down.
Yeah, he does. You saw Stig fall behind 2-0, and then the quick move to put Gion at first. Put the force out at any base, but you get the righty-lefty matchup here with McDonald to the plate, who's been seeing it well after that pinch hit opportunity on Friday. See Stig trying to rear back a little bit. That one elevated 95, but up and out of the zone. So 1-1 count, and big moment here in this game. Stanford has had the lead, if not tied, since we started. Trying to extend here.
We shared with you Winnie pinch hit on Friday. McDonald is out of Arlington, Texas. Had a father who played baseball at Hardin-Simmons University there in the Lone Star State. A brother plays at Princeton, from a baseball family through and through. He puts this in the air, right field. Going to be handled out there, and it's the Cardinal leaving him out there this go round. It remains a one-run contest, 3-2 our score at the midway point of the Sunday finale. Game series between the Cardinal and the Hokies on this Sunday. Fans enjoying themselves as we move on past the midway point of this series finale. Happy to have you with us on the ACC Network. And now joined by the head coach of the Stanford Cardinal. Coach, just another Sunday in the ACC, right? Another good one in front of us today.
Yeah, Sunday in the ACC, right? You're probably going to see about 9 pitchers on our side trying to get 3 outs apiece.
How do you feel about where things are with your staff right now based upon what you've used and what you still have in the arsenal?
Well, we got a little less from Kettleson, obviously, than we had hoped. So we're going to have to find those outs from somebody at this point. So Gomez has done a nice job, but it's kind of, both defenses have been bending, not breaking, right? I mean, that's the story of the game so far. So hopefully the luck stays with us.
Yeah, Coach, been a very competitive series. We've enjoyed it. You guys have been super competitive in this one, very aggressive on the base paths, and you touched on Gomez and how good he's been for you out of the pen. What's the successful recipe here the rest of the way at the plate against this pitching staff from Virginia Tech?
It's about the big hit. We've left some guys in scoring position so far, and haven't helped ourselves. The air in the first, which gave them a run, and at one point, we had the collision at second, which probably took a run off the board from us. So it's been a tough ball game. Runs haven't been easy to come by, and winning's tough in this league. So you got to earn it.
Coach, final one for us. Sasaki, been so good. We've highlighted him all weekend. Anything to say about the scoreboard and the damage left behind as you guys leave Blacksburg here this weekend?
Yeah. Hey, and he showed a little hitterish ability there. That line drive on the left side, which is good to see. He just missed the first one to lead off the inning. And looks like we're gonna have to keep this guy off a second somehow, and we're not.
Well, and his defense at times have catched your attention along the way too, Coach. Hey, we'll let you get back to it. We appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Coach.
you.
Good luck.
And as we've said more than once this weekend, one of the great gentlemen in this game, certainly one of the great strategists in this game. You see what he's done with this offense, and you can hear it in his voice there, Andrew. Every one of these right now critical as the series hangs in the balance.
Yeah, but you appreciate his approach. Again, really enjoyed talking to him all weekend. I know it's a short opportunity in-game as we take another look at Gomez to Licurdo, and Licurdo turns that one around well. As you heard, Coach, are we going to keep this guy off of second base? Unfortunately for Stanford, it gets deep enough that Licurdo's in safely with no outs, but you can tell he's just kind of same pace all the way through, doesn't get too flustered. Coach Esker understands the game, appreciates the game, appreciates the competitive nature of this series and the opponent in Virginia Tech, and you could tell you could just talk baseball with that guy all day.
He is a guy you could talk baseball with endlessly, that's for sure. He made his mark on this game as a player for Stanford in the College World Series, has carried them back there as a coach, and no reason to believe bright days are not still going to be ahead for this program as they're developing a lot of young talent on this year's squad. Certainly battling it out for the series victory on this Sunday. Saw the called strike there on the appeal. Goes to 2-1. Well, we can echo what he said to us at the start of the weekend, right, when we visited with him midstream, and he said this is not likely to be the final score. Probably true again today. You're looking at a 3-2 contest, and to revisit his words from that first conversation, this is not likely to be the final score. In fact, Hokies looking to snag a run right now, but we appreciate both coaches and the time they've given us, both leading into the series in preparation and certainly in game across the course of what's been, as you said, a highly competitive weekend. 3-1, make it 3-2 as Cook swings through this.
Well, and I got to reiterate, I finally got something right. You heard Coach Esker. 9 innings, 9 guys can get us 3 outs, right? So he had a plan. We touched on that earlier. They wanted a little more out of the left-hander Kettleson, but I think they're getting a little more from the right-hander Gomez in return. Unfortunately there, the walk It's a Henry Cook who does a good job to lay off that one up, and that's going to be a quick mound visit here. So maybe back to that theme of 9 guys, 3 outs each. Gomez has done a tremendous job, but finds himself in a little bit of trouble here with 2 aboard, no outs, and Virginia Tech has been threatening in the prior innings. Gomez shutting him down. Hokies hoping to change that theme here in the bottom of the 5th.
Gomez finishing his full journey through the batting order. You see the split between balls and strikes when you consider the 44 pitches he threw during his Sunday outing. Second time we saw Gomez this weekend, and certainly gave some positive things to a Stanford Cardinals squad trying to hang on to a 3-2 lead as they make the call to the pen, bottom of 5. Easter on the horizon, just a week away now. Happy Easter to you wherever you are. If you want to enjoy a little lacrosse as a part of your Easter weekend, a lot of it happening in Durham right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. It'll be Virginia Duke on the men's side, followed by Syracuse Duke in a ranked matchup on the women's side, all headed your way next Saturday right here on the ACC Network. Here's a name we expected to call today with the way he performed earlier in the series. Another dose of Torin O'Haron in a key moment in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, before the offensive production on Friday, it was O'Haron who did a great job to quiet things for Virginia Tech offensively, keep that game where it was, 1-run lead for the Hokies before Stanford was able to erupt late on some struggles from the bullpen on the Virginia Tech end. And as you mentioned, going to see him here again today, and now's the opportunity. Gomez very good behind Kettleson. We heard Coach say we're hoping to get a little more out of the lefty, but the right-hander Gomez does a great job. And now the next one, the next righty and O'Haron here trying to shut down things as the Hokies are in business with 2 aboard, no outs, trailing 1 here in the bottom half of the 5th.
Lucurdo doubled to open up the inning. Henry Cook drew a walk. That initiated the pitching change. Torin O'Haron with 2 aboard and nobody away. And Hurt is going to square around a bunt. Willie Hurt, the product of Midlothian, getting a glance here as the freshman faces now an 0-1 count. O'Haron went 2 1/3 and was the winning pitcher on Friday. Struck out 2 in those 2+, facing 8 batters and throwing 32 pitches in Friday's contest. What was the 9-7 win? He was the pitcher of decision.
Yeah, he was very effective. It felt like every pitch as we watched that pitch count with his 8th pitch, he really took him a long time to get over 10 as he was keeping the Hokies offense at bay. And here way ahead 0-2, able to waste 1-2 to Hurt, who had an opportunity on the Hokies side with the start Friday in this series, and now a pinch hit opportunity.
We will wade right through this. And the first out recorded as O'Haron looks to be in the same form fans saw from him on Friday.
Trying to get the bunt down on the first 2, unsuccessful. Takes the ball way out of the zone, 1-2 on the waste pitch from O'Haron, but then just waving through it there, the freshman Hurt, and a big first out for the Cardinal. See O'Haron showing the double play opportunity here with his middle infield. Know who's covering up the middle. Pitch away from a double play and out of an inning.
He delivers a first pitch strike to Gates. That win on Friday night, his 2nd of the year. He improved to 2-1 on the season with that victory. Comes in here trying to protect a 3-2 lead. This is put by the second baseman and into right field. They're going to wave the runner. The throw comes into the middle infield, and Virginia Tech has tied it on Gates' RBI knock. It's now a 3-3 game.
Well, you saw the frustration from Willie Hurt coming out after he's unable to get it done in the pinch hit spot, trying to push a bunt, put 2 in scoring position. But what a job by Gates. Following the pinch hit strikeout, come in, drive 1 through the right side past Gion. Cook in safely to second, but more importantly, Lucurdo in to score, and all tied at 3 here. So the game has shrunk, and we'll see who's the better club here through the final 4+.
Hokies were 1 for 12 with runners aboard. And they were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position before that swing from Gates. And here's Gibson, who, as we have documented for you on more than one occasion, he's homered in each of the first 2 games of this series, and he's going to send one out in the left. That'll drop for a single. High hop off that turf. They waved the runner initially. Now he retreats to third. Nobody there to cover as he slides headfirst into the bag. To fill the bases, they are loaded on the latest base hit from Ethan Gibson.
Yeah, Coach Hansen trying to take advantage of the bloop. You see Cook here seeing it, making sure it's down, does a good job, and thinks, hey, I'm holding up. Coach says, hey, we've seen them be aggressive. Let's do the same on the other side. But the catcher chooses wisely, retreats to third, leaves them loaded for Virginia Tech. Bases loaded, less than 2, top of the order.
Credit McDonald also there for making a nice adjustment on what was a high hop out there in left field as that one came down out of the sky. It's the 3rd chance for Virginia Tech at the plate with the bases loaded. 0 for 2 to this point in this scenario. As we told you, now 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position, and 2 of those 3 the last 2 singles you have seen in this inning. Pitch well off the plate away. O'Haron came right in, notched the strikeout, but has since seen the score tied up with Virginia Tech looking for more. And a hitter's count at 3-1. To the leadoff man in Grube. Remember, Grube got it started, pushing that bunt out there for a single, heading down to second on the ball thrown away, and coming home to score the first run earlier, trying to drive home the latest, but he's going to see the count run full at 3-2 with that swing through. 3 runs on 7 hits, identical on the top and bottom of the scoreboard. Just the 1 error, it charged to the Cardinal in a 3-3 game. Called strike 3. Huge second out for O'Haron as he gets the call on that one at the letters. It was a well-placed pitch for O'Haron.
Yeah, executed inner half. Looked like he was trying to go away there the way Lavin was set up, but nonetheless, it still catches plenty of the plate, freezes Grube, and great job by O'Haron for a big second out. Hokies again, bases loaded, 2 outs. Can they find the timely hit?
Beautiful executed pitch. Little swing down to the third base side, and a strong throw across means the inning. So Virginia Tech ties the score, but had them loaded for more. And that's turned aside by O'Haron and company. It's 3-3 after 5. This ball, you've by now heard that Miles Bailey underwent surgery. That's a huge, huge hit to Florida State, and certainly everybody, with, as Link Jarrett said, their thoughts and prayers with Miles Bailey and his family, and certainly his future in this sport. A Florida State team that is off to its best start in a decade and is at the top of the ACC standings. But the last thing you ever want to see, Andrew, the type of thing that happened with Miles Bailey over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, good to see successful surgery. Unfortunately out for the remainder of the year, but expected to make the full recovery, and that certainly is about as good a news as you could get.
Glad to hear that. Does change the complexion of things for Coach Jarrett, Florida State. That was a team cruising through the first portion of their ACC schedule. We're seeing them out in Arlington at the start of the year, playing in that highly regarded run of tournaments out there at the home ballpark of the Texas Rangers. It was a team that has shown the ability already to kind of click on all cylinders. Of course, the Hokies playing the following weekend, one of those highly regarded college baseball tournaments that are becoming the norm at the start of the season. But all that to say, they played some of the toughest competition in the country, looked strong, and then certainly had a stellar start to the ACC. And that's a big loss for Florida State and everybody thinking about the Noles and one of the more talented players in the ACC in ways that go beyond what happens between the white lines. Here's the 2-2 as Hott tried to serve one down that right field side. It is not to be. Number of changes for you as we work on into this 6th inning. Positionally, we'll walk you through them here momentarily. You may see them as Virginia Tech goes to work in this frame. 6-3 put out coming your way here. It's in the same spot. Daniel's still the shortstop, although there are changes elsewhere. Here's the real-time defensive alignment for Virginia Tech now.
I see Hurt coming in for Petrich offensively, so Gibson moves over to third. Petrich now out of the game. Grube in from right field to play first base, where we've seen him more often, and Trayson Hughes fills in that middle spot in the outfield with Lacurdo and Gates on either side.
So a different defensive look in a 3-3 game. Again, 3 runs on 7 hits both ways. The number that jumps out at you right now, 17 runners left combined by these two teams, and Coach Esker pointed to it. I think he called it bend but don't break in terms of what these pitching staffs and defenses have done, limiting both teams to just 3 runs apiece thus far. And 11 of those left by the Hokies, including that bases loaded scenario an inning ago, and not the first for Virginia Tech in this one. But 3-7-1 across the top, 3-7-0 across the bottom. Runs, hits, errors so far with 5 innings in the books. Second out on a true delivery from Stig, staying out there and looking strong as we go deeper into the contest.
Yeah, he did there for sure. Firm fastball, inner half, executes for that third strike and gets the 6-3 put out. Strikeout there is a big one. Lavin able to home run in his last at bat, taking a similar pitch over the right field wall. Stig wins that battle for 2 outs. And again, we're coming down the stretch now in the rubber match, 3-3 ball game. Both of these teams trying to find a way to pull ahead, put a little pressure on the opponent.
Stig giving the Hokies good length after Brett Renfro, who we talked to earlier in the game, did the same thing for the home team yesterday. He's about to throw his 95th pitch. The Hokies right-hander. It is fouled back, and he's within a pitch potentially of working through this top half of the 6th inning. Quickly, he got the ground out from Hott, the strikeout of Lavin, and here's his 0-2 to the 9-hole man Marsh. And most in the yard thought he had just secured strike 3. That just missed.
Yeah, good pitch here. Take a look. Yeah, Cook set up off the plate, so he gets the glove but misses the plate. Good call there, 1-2 count, but good job by Stig as well.
Our home plate umpire right on top of that. As Brock Sale takes a look at one just off the zone once more. 95 on the gun, and Deuce is wild on the scoreboard. 2-2 with 2 down to the guy wearing jersey number 2 for the Cardinal. And Stig will miss to make it 3 balls and 2 strikes. Big time point into the dugout that time.
Yeah, again, We're getting to a point here. Both of these clubs competing for this rubber match. Stig here, probably his final pitch, or winding down at least as he hits 100. 2 outs recorded here in the 6th.
Grounded middle infield. And tossed to first for the final out of this inning as the pinch hitter Roxell is retired. Stig strong, and the game tied mid-6th. On the Sunday edition and the series finale. This is game 3, and it's all threes. In terms of the scoring to this point, certainly the series hangs in the balance between the Cardinal and the Hokies. First ever meeting for Stanford and Virginia Tech here in Blacksburg. They did meet in the tournament last year. Virginia Tech a winner at the ACC tourney in their prior clash. Of course, Hokies will get the opportunity at some point to head toward the Bay Area and also experience Sunken Diamond for the first time. All kind of positive things having been said by the Stanford folks about being here in the New River Valley and seeing the facilities in this place. They really were clear about what exists here surrounding this Virginia Tech program when they rolled off the bus in the opener. A 4-3 put out, taking care of things as ball is retired to begin the inning. But that's kind of one of the key storylines now, ACC-wise. You get Stanford and Cal and the journeys into some new environments and seeing new facilities and creating new rivalries around the country. This one certainly has been good for the fans in Blacksburg this weekend. A competitive series all around on both sides. 9-7 was the final in Stanford's win on Friday. And Virginia Tech answered with that strong outing from Brett Renfro and a 10-2 win in yesterday's game 2. So it all comes down to this, and now it all comes down to the next 3+ innings that are scheduled in a 3-3 game.
Yeah, I think it comes down to bullpens as well. We know Stanford's in their pen, relying on a righty here who's been good for them all weekend, and looks like that one's going to get down in front of Hott in center field as Luderman is able to find his way aboard. But as we touched on going to break, Stig able to execute on his 100th pitch. Gives him a chance to pick up that 3rd out as you see movement on the defensive side. Roxell, after that pinch hit opportunity in the 9-hole, moves to right field defensively for the remainder. But I fully expect bullpen action for Virginia Tech, so we'll see what Stanford can do with that and their final 9 outs on the offensive side. Right now, Virginia Tech in the bottom half of the 6th trying to find a way to get their first lead in this ballgame.
Yeah, Stanford with O'Haron out there as the 5th pitcher of this contest. Curto in play to 3rd. The throw across in time. Trying to send it back to the hot corner quickly. Sasaki will, but the runner moves on up, and the Hokies have that go-ahead run 90 feet away now with 2 down.
Yeah, tough one for Lacurdo to get his bat on. He is able to spin it on that side. Looked like a little hit and run action there as Luderman's in motion, and he's hard around 2nd and into 3rd. Give Moran credit. Good play, 5-3 put out and a bang-bang there at first, but Luderman hanging on, as you mentioned, 90 feet away, and Henry Cook with an opportunity to put the Hokies in front for the first time in Game 3.
Why wouldn't you want Cook up in a prime spot if you're Virginia Tech? Guy who came into today 4 for 6 with a couple of walks and the big blast in yesterday's contest. So driven in one, are responsible for an RBI at least by doing his job at the plate with the bases loaded back into 3rd. The free pass that meant one of the 3 runs. strike taken here. 2-1. O'Haron behind Shaw, Thomas, Kettleson, and Gomez today. The arms used by Stanford to this juncture. Hokies separating themselves in the hit column with Luderman's single into center. And they separate themselves in the main column. If so, going to be Trayson Hughes who will need to get that done. He strides toward the plate after another walk from Cook.
Yeah, Cook draws the walk, but I'm okay with that if you're O'Haron and the Cardinal, 2 outs. Trayson Hughes, a new name really this weekend. We saw him late defensively, but otherwise not a ton of opportunities at the plate. Another bat that's been struggling for the Hokies. Expected a lot out of him coming into the season, but Cook and Hughes really trying to find a way to get going. So if you're O'Haron, a base open, Luderman at third, the go-ahead run. Careful around the right-handed hitting Cook, and now an opportunity against the left-handed hitting Trayson Hughes, who's looking to come up big here for Virginia Tech.
Hughes across 75 at-bats this year, putting together those numbers. RBI number 6 would mean the Hokies lead for the first time in this third and decisive game of the series. Uncontested, Cook works his way down to second base. So a solid knock somewhere now would mean a pair. It is, in fact, a strike on the appeal, 1-2. O'Haron now a strike away from working out of the jam again, which has been a familiar refrain in this contest on both sides. Again, if you missed it when we referenced it earlier, a combined 17 runners have been left in this game. Hokies been in a spot like this each of the last few innings. Here's the 2-2, 3-2, as that misses away.
Yeah, runners 9 and 10, 4 innings in the making here. Bases loaded, a couple back, then 2 aboard, and then bases loaded again, all stranded for Virginia Tech. And the most recent work for this Cardinal staff.
It will happen again. 3-2 pitch, swung on and missed. 95 on the gun for O'Haron, keeps it 3-3 as the Hokies leave a couple more here in the 6th. 7th inning coming up as the pitching staffs and the defenses have made the difference in this one when it counts. The series still up for grabs in Blacksburg. He's in a game started by this gentleman, 3-0 in the ACC, and he was strong again today.
Yeah, he was. You take a look at his package there. He's doing a good job to execute all pitches. Defense working behind him.
Stig leaves with the game tied at 3 apiece. You get a look at his line. 100 pitches even on this Sunday in the month of March.
Yeah, second time this year for Stig. Threw 104 against UVA 2 weeks ago in Charlottesville. So you can see some of these guys starting to get stretched out just a little bit as we move further into the season, and he'll turn it over to another right-hander, hard-throwing Luke Crater coming in, the senior out of Charlottesville, Virginia, where the Hokies took on the Cavaliers just a couple weeks ago, and that's why you see him here in this position. 3-0 record, only 10 2/3, but 15 strikeouts, 2 walks. Crater looking to keep it that way here as the Cardinal and the Hokies battle out the final 3 innings.
He's the first out of the pen for this fresh trip through the order. As Stanford's leadoff man, Sasaki, is in there. Sundays have been good for Virginia Tech in 2026. Hokies are 4-1 on Sundays this season. And again, taking advantage of a number of solid starts from Stig. He gives way now. And here's Sasaki, who's been held quiet at 0 for 3. That's saying something. Stanford leadoff man homered in each of the first 2 games of the series. The number he wears, the operative number right now. It is a 3-3 game in game 3. the rubber match of the series. And he will take a look at a third straight pitch out of the zone. Here's the 3-0. And on 4 pitches, Sasaki draws a leadoff walk. Next Saturday, have a chance to see the Virginia Tech softball team in action. They'll host Clemson. That's the nightcap, the 6 p.m. game. After Notre Dame and Florida State go head-to-head at 2 p.m. 10th-ranked Noles and then the 12th-ranked Hokies showing up on the ACC network next Saturday in softball action in the Atlantic Coast Conference. 3-3 game here, and Tokheim, who's double back in the first inning, stands as his only hit today. He's flown out and then walked in the 2 times he has come to the plate since. Of course, he came around to score Stanford's first run after doubling as Bates rolled one up the middle and through. Little did we know at that time, and it's certainly unique to this Sunday in this series at least, that all the runs in this game would come that way. Just a single run in the run scoring frames thus far. Diving stop at second, and the turn is not quite in time, but they do get the lead runner Sasaki on the force. 1 down.
Oh, good job by Ball to get to that one, though. That ball hit hard off the bat at Tokheim, and Ball getting extended, has to get to his feet, wants to make sure of one, so a light toss there to Daniel. Daniel goes ahead and get rid of it, but Drew coming off just to be sure he keeps it in front. As you mentioned, they get the leader and 1 out recorded as Crater tries to get on track.
Brings Bates, who drove in that initial run, to the plate. You know, that's an interesting piece of it. Think about how many crooked numbers we've seen across the course of the weekend, with 10 runs scored by the Hokies yesterday and 9 scored by Stanford in the opener. Different story here, at least thus far. And there's a single dropped into left field by Bates. He is the first at the top of the order with a multi-hit day. He joins Lavin, who's 2 for 3 in the contest, as Bates is now 2 for 4. Yeah, a run in the first, a run in the second, a run in the fourth for Stanford. A run in the first, a run in the third, a run in the fifth for Virginia Tech. No crooked numbers in this one. No multi-run scoring frames just yet, as we play on in the 7th. Cardinals certainly threatening here with 1 away. Stanford has left 6. Virginia Tech now having left 13. So nearly 20 runners stranded between these two on this Sunday. Moran also an extra base hit. The third, to the bag he goes, and then the throw across just in behind the arrival of Moran, but the force play secures the 2nd out as Gibson took it to the bag.
Oh, ball down the line, opportunity. Gibson 5-3 double play put out end of inning, but instead that one runs up the line. Good job by Grube to keep it here in the infield. Runners at first and second, 2 out. Saw Gibson grabbing the backside of his right leg there, maybe a cramp as he planted to throw. He was shaking it and grabbing at it, but the fielder's choice, 5 unassisted, put out nonetheless as he steps on third. First and second, 2 outs, and Crater trying to work out of a jam here in the 7th. First out of the pen for the Hokies.
Gion looks at a pitch away. You know, interestingly enough, something we haven't talked about, for Stanford today, half the hit total of the extra base variety. A little surprising in a 3-3 game. 4 extra base hits out of the 8 hits total. And Gion was the one guy who thought he had an extra base hit that didn't work out. Remember, he was thrown out trying to stretch a single into a double in his first AB. His designs in this at bat on trying to reclaim the lead for the Cardinal if he could pick up his 14th RBI of the year. 13 RBIs and just shy of 50 at bats off 18 total hits for Eric Gion. Mentioned what a nice series he had against Utah Valley last weekend when they were at Sunken Diamond. Will not make contact with this delivery. Count 2-1. You can make it 3-1 as Crater adjusts the cap. So he made a bid to catch the zone there that was not to be. There is ball 4, and the bases are loaded. This time for Stanford with 2 away in the 7th. Much rolling through the mind in a chess match of a Sunday between these two coaching staffs as we push into the latter frames.
Oh, big moment here. Hokies have had this opportunity aplenty, unable to capitalize. Cardinal would like nothing more than a timely hit here from McDonald.
Court McDonald starting the last 2 games after serving as a pinch hitter in the opener. He'll send this foul third base side. Told you about his dad, a Hardin Simmons college baseball player. His brother at Princeton. Of course, that's Caden McDonald. In this college baseball rich family. And he will send this into right, but it is right in the footsteps of Sam Gates. Hit it 106 off the bat, but it's a loud out that leaves them loaded in the top half of the 7th. They stretch in a 3-3 game 3. 3-3 in the winner-take-all game 3 as we move on to the bottom half of the 7th inning. Your impressions of what we've seen in this one?
Well, a lot of missed opportunity. You touched on base runners left on for both of these clubs. Give the pitching staffs credit as they've been able to find a way out of jams just about every inning. You mentioned the 3-3 game, 8 hits each way, just 1 error to show for Stanford. And as we move to the bottom of the 7th, the Hokies are trying to find a way to scratch their first lead in this one, and the Cardinal are trying to keep it close with a new arm on the mound.
Going to be Mike Erspalmer coming on, the southpaw, 6th pitcher of the day for the Stanford Cardinal. You saw in that game summary, identical in the runs and hits column. And Erspalmer trying to be the latest to, we'll borrow the words again of Coach Dave Esker from earlier in the contest when we were talking with him, to bend but not break. That has been the story. Hokies have left 13 aboard. Stanford, after leaving them loaded in that last half inning, having left 9 aboard in this contest. So a combined 22 runners stranded on this decisive Sunday in the ACC. Who will be able to push one across in the latter stages here as we play on, starting to get late now here in the bottom of the 7th. Going to be the combo of Gates, Gibson, and Grube, and you can see how they're playing Gates defensively. Right side loaded up right now. At least until now, in on the grass, or the turf that mimics that cut of the grass on that opposite side. Won't matter where they're placed here, as that's a called third strike and a nice start out of the pen for the latest of the Stanford arms.
Yeah, Erspalmer getting it done. You saw the breaking pitches. Take a look. He doubles up with it there, and excited about that strikeout. As Gates is frozen at the plate for a big first out, and we've mentioned it a ton. Bend, don't break. Both these clubs been bending. Who's going to break in the later part of this game 3 here with a game on the line?
Well, we talked about this coming into the series, but it really shows itself now, Andrew, that this is a moment for some of these arms in both pens to make the case for a solidified role. It's on days like this that you earn your keep in a key situation like we see in front of us right now.
Yeah, absolutely. His arms continue to move about in the pen for Stanford, and we know we're into the bullpen behind Stig on the other side as Crater found a way to battle through some struggles in his first inning of work. And you're exactly right. There's an opportunity for someone to lead the charge here in finding this Game 3 victory, winning a series. Stanford again trying to do it, get home with good momentum as that fastball's by Gibson for a second strikeout in this inning. Virginia Tech on the other side hoping to win their second consecutive series here in Blacksburg before they have to go the other direction and hit the road. But lefty Erspalmer executing there, Gibson swinging through, and the left-handers fired up with 2 strikeouts to start the 7th frame.
See if the top of the order can provide anything different. Rubu knows the value of one critical at bat on a Sunday just like this. In Atlantic Coast Conference action, takes a look at a couple in the zone. He's behind 0-2.
Oh, Erspalmer living with the breaking pitch. Got the left-handed hitters for the Hokies a bit frozen. Tries to come back there. Fastball outer half buried in the turf for a 1-2 count. See if he goes back to it right here. Yes, he does. Runs one away, 2-2. Grube does a good job of laying off. That ball's moving a ton at the plate. Lefty-lefty matchup. Very challenging here for Sam Grube. Expected again from Erspalmer. Don't get away from what's working.
Left field. And that'll take care of things in this 7th frame. We head to the 8th. Still all knotted up in the rubber match. Baseball on this Sunday. More baseball coming your way. Beginning Thursday as Easter weekend gets started with those Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. You'll see Florida State visit Charlottesville. Top team in the ACC thus far. And that ranked matchup, as the Noles are off to a tremendous start. Going to be a new look moving forward, as we talked about earlier. And then the nightcap with Louisville and Duke. That's 8 p.m. Thursday. 5 and 8 p.m. Florida State, Virginia, Louisville, Duke. Just another Thursday in the ACC. Fans enjoying Stanford and Virginia Tech, and we do not want to let the weekend pass us by without taking a moment, tip the cap, and provide a memory. Say our thoughts and prayers remain with the Stanford family. You see the patch they've been wearing. Coach Mark Marquis, one of the legendary coaches, not just for this program, but in college baseball history, who led them for 4 decades, 2-time national champion, passing away at age 78. College Baseball Hall of Famer who had over 1,600 wins, top 5 in NCAA history all time. And he was the head man. Now coach Dave Esker and company lifted that national championship trophy in 1987. So, dear to his heart personally and dear to the hearts of everybody wearing Cardinal. And from our broadcast booth all around the ACC, all around the nation, those who love this sport and have followed this sport over the years, understanding what a big loss that is. And Stanford playing in his memory across the course of this 2026 season, one of the best to ever lead a college program, and certainly still on the minds and hearts of so many around the country. Cardinal wearing that patch on the uni. You see it displayed prevalently elsewhere as well. They go to work in this 8th inning, and a leadoff knock to begin things for Hott. Remember, Andrew, this was the inning, the 8th inning, the 5-run 8th inning that made the difference on Friday. And Lavin, guy who's already made a difference in this game, here's what he did earlier.
Yeah, spinning one in there from Stig, the starter for the Hokies. Lavin able to push that one to the right field corner and into the bullpen. So now with a runner aboard, a dangerous hitter in the 8th spot. And as you mentioned on Friday, this is where the Cardinal were able to solidify that game 1 victory as they put the 5 spot up. Crater here trying to avoid that and find a way to record some outs, not allow any further base runners in a 3-3 tie.
So 9 hits on the board. Cardinal breaking what was a tie in that hit category, but both teams have found it hard to break the tie in the column that matters. And now the current head coach of the Cardinal, Coach Esker, who also led this group back to Omaha. A couple of occasions since coming over 9 seasons ago. Well, you think about the tenure, we were talking about the longtime and legendary head coach that Stanford going to be playing for this year. 1977 to 2017 at the helm of the same program. Just remarkable. You think about he and, we were talking about Florida State a moment ago, what Coach Mike Martin did in the ACC over the years. Some of the legendary figures, multiple stops for Augie Garrido, obviously, but you start putting together kind of a Mount Rushmore of guys who led college baseball programs. Those legends, really the foundation upon which this game has been built.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're tough to come by. To your point, we talked about the competitive nature of the ACC and SEC and collegiate baseball across the board, and not many can do it for decade upon decade, as those names have, as you suggest. And this moment here, Coach Esker, another one that we've talked a lot about, as you see him retreat to the dugout. He understands the importance of this 8th inning as the leader gets aboard on a ball to the left side and puts his team in position to get the lead back here in Game 3.
And he's following right in those footsteps from a strategy standpoint, those fingerprints, as you said, of so many of those legends, right on this next generation of leaders. We'll see what Stanford is going to be able to do with this opportunity. He reminded us in our conversation with him earlier, cashing in those opportunities. That's what's been tough today, and certainly what this one's going to come down to in so many ways today. Got a pinch hitter coming, and speaking of strategy and chess match, now Virginia Tech looking as if they're going to make a move as well. Well, the series is on the line here in the 8th inning of a 3-3 contest. We will set the stage for you. New hitter, new pitcher coming your way when you return to Blacksburg. Of baseball, the chess match at its finest as both teams make a move here. Preston Crowell now called upon out of the Virginia Tech bullpen with Philip Chong, the announced hitter for Stanford. Here are the vitals and the numbers for Crowell thus far on the season as he makes his 11th appearance.
11th appearance and 2nd this weekend, so you understand the reliability of Crowell coming in trying to get a job done as Crater yields that leadoff single to Ethan Hott. You had Gibson down at 3rd playing no doubles, which allowed that ball to get in the hole on the left side. Pushed it into left field, runner aboard. As you mentioned, the pinch hitter is announced. Expect a bunt, trying to get that runner into scoring position with less than 2 outs. So the Hokies on the other side turn to Crowell, the 3rd arm for Virginia Tech, and see who executes here down the stretch.
Crowell went 2 2/3 in the opener, that 9-7 win for Stanford. He gave up a couple of hits, walked 3, struck out 3 through 52 pitches on Friday, and now he is back at it here in this Sunday winner-take-all for the weekend series. There is the bunt. It is pushed up the first base side. His only play will be to first, and boy, it took a bare-hand effort right there to make sure the out was secured. That was nicely done by Ethan Ball, but it is exactly what Stanford was looking for to move the runner. How about this play, though, to make sure the out was recorded?
Exactly what they were looking for, but almost got 2 aboard, no outs. Crowell You see he gets it, he thinks about tagging. Kind of an errant toss there underhand. Great job by Ethan Ball. Concentration, keep the left foot secure with the right bare hand. But job well done by Chong as they advance to second and get that runner in scoring position. Now a hit away from a 4-3 lead.
Philip Chong doing exactly what Coach Dave Esker inserted him in the lineup to accomplish. And now Brock Sell, grounded to the shortstop in his only other personal plate appearance back in the 6th inning, takes a strike. 9-hole hitter. Sasaki, you know, of course, that means is on deck with 1 out in the 8th inning. Make it 1-2. The 8th inning proved decisive on Friday when Stanford played at 5 en route to a 9-7 win. Can they utilize the 8th again here? Looking for just that single run to forge ahead. 2-2. To Brock Sell. Now full, 3-2. With every pitch, Sale turning and having a continual conversation with the first base dugout, feeding off their energy as he tries to find a way to bring Ethan Hott home here. Or get it to the leadoff man with 1 away. He fouls this to stay alive. Results in another point and further interaction with his teammates in that first base dugout.
Now he's battling here, 2nd time in this game. At the plate, Corral trying to win one here, 3-2, 1 out. Sasaki on deck.
Sends another foul down that third base side. He's battling here. The freshman out of the 9-hole. This one appears to be still hooking, and with the wind pushing it that direction, it will get out of play. I was going to say it appears to be in play down that third base side, but we've got a pretty stiff breeze blowing right to left, and that ends up simply being a foul ball out of play. It stays 3-2.
Yeah,
the flags show it to you right there.
Yeah, definitely moving right to left. We've seen it towards that third base back most of the day. Good job by Sell here. Great at bat. Crowd battling as well on the other side. Let's see who wins at 3-2. That go-ahead run out at second base with 1 out recorded.
Hot dancing off second, and Sell somehow stays alive. Talked about what a great at bat this has been so far. That's the marquee moment of it. It stays 3-2. This is a double-digit pitch at bat now. Crowd brought in out of the pen. Delivers another 3-2. It's right side. Should be the second out of the inning. It is. It will move Hot around a third, and with 2 down, it is going to be the battle between Crowell and Sasaki, with the game and perhaps the series, at least for now, on the line.
Not so fast, as Sasaki will go to first base.
You kind of thought it might be coming, and sure enough, before he can even reach the batter's box, 4 fingers in the air.
Yeah, but curious if they would make that decision. Tokheim's a name we've talked about all weekend, so expected it, but then 2-3 so productive, 2-3-4 so productive, really no place to put them. They are going to go righty-righty matchup in Crowell and Tokheim on the intentional to Sasaki, putting him down at first base.
He doubled in the first inning for his only hit today, but he had a multi-home run effort in the opener. And he puts a pretty good charge into this center field. Backing up and seeming to have a beat on it is Trayson Hughes. He will corral it. That's the inning. Another runner left stranded in scoring position. It's been a familiar refrain on both sides, and it keeps us at 3-3, middle of the 8th in Game 3.
Mike Erspalmer, one of the many names called on from the pen in the last half, executing breaking pitch. A lot of break in that off speed, leans on the fastball as well, and the left-hander is fired up, trying to get his dugout. Will their way to a victory and a 3-3 tie as we enter the bottom of the 8th.
Trevor Moore now climbing the hill, the senior out of the state of Colorado. Not his first look this weekend either, as we see him for the second time in the series and the 12th time he has climbed the mound overall for Stanford this year.
And he was able to shut things down after that 5-run 8th on Friday, so that tells you they're relying on the reliable arms down the stretch. Coach Esker and the Cardinal had an opportunity in the last half offensively, unable to get it done. Give Preston Crowell credit as he gets the fly ball to center field. But Moore coming on here, and again, you almost feel like it's the long ball. Who can hit it first? As so many base runners left the board, but nobody with timely hitting able to get it done with runners in scoring position. And maybe it's one swing of the bat, and that next run is going to be the difference in who takes Game 3 in a series here in Blacksburg.
A little tougher today with the direction of the wind compared to what we saw in the first 2 games of the series. One of the reasons we remain at 3-3. The save for Trevor Moore on Friday was his first of the season. He can hold things, he might get a decision of a different variety this go round if he can hold things steady for Stanford to take another crack at it in the 9th. Pete Daniel making it a habit to come up with multi-hit games this weekend. Put together yesterday, or I should say Friday, a 4-hit effort for the 3rd time in his career and first time as a Hokie. What is it about the 8th inning and communication devices? It's something we saw on both ends yesterday, and got to make sure all is in order. It's certainly the case now. You and I both have enjoyed the nature of this one throughout, and the chess match at play. Every pitch critical right now. Two-strike count on Daniel. Those 2 base knocks coming in back-to-back ABs for him in the 3rd and 4th innings. Stole a base after that single in the 4th, scored a run after that single in the 3rd. It has just been single runs when they have scored on both sides today. 1 in the 1st, 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 4th. For Stanford, 1 in the 1st, 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 5th for Virginia Tech. A called strike 3 for the first out. Trevor Moore records.
Let's take a look at Moore for the first time today, and Daniel with a good at bat till there, just executes the fastball. Daniel frozen, first strike 3 and a big first out. Right now, name of the game, keep the runners off the base paths for either of these teams in a 3-3 knotted tie all the way back to the 5th inning. We've seen no action. Well, we've seen plenty of action, but we haven't seen runs.
I was going to say that they really haven't been bothered by runners on the base paths in this one, interestingly enough. That kind of is the other storyline in this one. And they appeal down to 3rd just to have another set of eyes on that, which is going to go up on the board as strike 1. Offensive communication coming, while Coach Sheff comes out for clarification from our home plate umpire.
Yeah, question here is, did he swing? I think there was contact on the hands, but if you get a swing, it's a strike. The appeal to 3rd
said yes.
Was that he did.
You know, while they sort this out, we'll give you a glance at it. You see the home plate umpire right there at the end of that shot, pointing down to third for assistance with that call.
There's a look at it, and that's tough to see there. But Matthew Bates nonetheless says it is an offer. So instead of a hit by pitch, if it were off the hands, it's a strike for Moore in an 0-1 count.
Or to deliver the 0-1. Yeah, that conversation we were getting into there about the other storyline. We can tell you about the 3 runs on 9 hits, the 3 runs on 8 hits, but there have been 24 combined runners left stranded today between these teams. 11 now left by Stanford. They're playing a little catch up to what was the higher number for Virginia Tech throughout the contest. 13 left by the Hokies in this one. Nobody aboard now. And as Andrew has alluded to on more than one occasion, just takes one at this point, not only to claim the day, but to claim the series for these two teams.
Well, it's about get them on, get them over, get them in. They've gotten them on, they've gotten them over, but they have not gotten them in. So something on the other side of the wall for either club just feels like the way to go is get a big cut there from Ethan Ball, but a good job by Moore to execute as he fell behind 3-0 in that count.
Well, certainly where the majority of the production has come from this weekend. Those situational numbers tell the story. 3-1. And 3-2, and it becomes strike 3. Swings through it, and there is a second out in the inning secured. And with 2 down in the bottom half of this 8th inning, going to be left up to Luderman if the Hokies are to do anything with the 8th on their side. Healthy cut on the first offering from Trevor Moore. Seems like ages ago now, that first inning AB, which he provided Virginia Tech with a run. He did single in the 6th. That's where you get the 1 and the 1 for 3 for the cleanup man. And Trevor Moore, who slammed the door on Friday for his first save of the year, attempting to hold things steady right here in the bottom of the 8th. Glance ahead to the 9th. Going to be 3, 4, and 5. Part of the order coming up for Stanford. You'll have to wait no longer for it. He just kind of flicks that to first. That's the inning. Once more, we'll underscore it. 3, 4, 5 coming up for the Cardinal. We head to the 9th in a tie ball game with the series hanging in the balance. On this Sunday, so many series being decided. Georgia Tech up 3-0, trying to sweep. North Carolina in position to do the exact same thing, and the score not in Wake's favor as they too go for the sweep. Same scenario with Duke leading Florida State after the Noles, the team atop the standings in the ACC, took the first 2 games of that series. But as we told you earlier in the game, working through some things, Florida State, as they move forward in a whole new scenario here in 2026. Here it is 3-3. We are into the 9th. Going to be the part of the order, 3, 4, 5. Bates, Moran, Gion in this 9th inning. Now, as you often say in this type of scenario, 1 inning to settle it, perhaps not so much, we'll see. But a series that saw a 9-7 win for Stanford in the opener, a 10-2 win for Virginia Tech yesterday. Coming down to what happens here in inning number 9. And a little bit of a pause as the equipment's got to be tended to. Well, we've seen new batting gloves today. Why not new overall gloves at this juncture of the journey? You said coming into this third game, we have seen just about everything in this series. I think now we got the review we did not have in the first two games to start it off in inning number one. The equipment changes, everything else, the chess match, it's all been there. Great baseball from Blacksburg this weekend. And then some. This fouled off. That hit the top of the pole that holds the netting. So down that left field side, the chair that is utilized at the gate down there, they landed one on there, and the pole just beyond the third base dugout on the top as well. We have seen a little bit of everything. Here's a 4-3 putout. Goes in the books as the first out of the ninth inning. They're getting those swings ready. The Masters is coming up, right, in a couple of weeks. Spring's on the horizon, all that. Got a couple landed perfectly. You're hitting the top of the post, the cup on the other end down there, and souvenirs abound. There it is. There's the chair. It's been collided with. Not to mention the T on the scoreboard. We told you about that. Sasaki leaving his mark with the BP wooden bat moment in which he put one through the connection of the TE in Tech atop the scoreboard here at English. So many memories that fans will take away from this weekend of baseball. Question is, who's going to claim the weekend as we play on in the ninth? Natives getting a little restless with that latest pitch to J.J. Moran. You see his day as it goes 2-0 to the Stanford cleanup man. He swings through this, make it 2-1. His double coming in the fifth inning as part of a 1-for-3 day. Krause 2-1. Third base side, but foul. If you're just joining us, just the combo of Crater and Crowell behind Stig today. Stig went the first 6. Crater an inning, and now Crowell an inning and a third. The arms utilized by the home team thus far.
Yeah, as we expected, the three right-handers the other way, we've seen a ton, and both have been effective. Stig to Crater to Crowell here. Preston Crowell, as he gets the spinner in there for a foul ball, and Moran staying alive. On the other side, we knew it was going to be a heavy dose of arms for Stanford, and they've been effective as well. A couple guys they'd like to see go longer, but a great job by Gomez. O'Haron, a second time out this weekend, very effective. And then in that last half, getting Moore back out for his second appearance.
That's going to land just in front of the right fielder Gates. So a one-out hit, and Moran, the potential go-ahead run, now aboard. Well, if you glance ahead to the bottom of the ninth inning, Licurdo, Cook, Hughes, the scheduled hitters for Virginia Tech. Stanford trying to do something before they take their licks. Of course, Virginia Tech would like to be in a position for the second straight weekend to walk off with an ACC series. That's what they were able to do against the Duke Blue Devils right here in this yard a week ago. Gion and company going to have their say first, as he is at the plate now. They check on Moran, who has stolen 4 bases this year. He's twice been caught, though. As we await the first pitch in the direction of Gion the Jr., checks his swing and fouls it off.
Yeah, I think to your point, from a game perspective, we've seen it all as well. Friday, kind of a back-and-forth affair. Gibson with the home run, able to give the Hokies the lead. And then Stanford with 5 in the 8th to take it late in the 9-7 win. Kind of all Hokies yesterday instead of that back-and-forth.
Down to short. There's one. The pick Making sure there's two, and that'll get the Hokies back in the dugout with a little momentum. Now, Stanford wants to look at this as they're not so sure contact with the bag was maintained. If it stands, it would be the inning, and the Hokies would be coming in looking to win it in the bottom of the ninth. But this will go to a review. We had one in the first. We'll have another here in the top half of the ninth frame. What'd you see there, Andrew?
That was really close. I think it's definitely worth a look for Stanford. It appeared Grube's foot was coming off the bag as he caught the ball. Now, whether or not it's overturned, we'll get a couple looks here. Call on the field is out on the double play, 6-4-3, but I very much saw the same thing Stanford did. The foot came as the hand secured the ball, and in a moment like this, why not take a look? You have that challenge. You're working in the ninth. You're turning it back over to the home team and a chance to win in a tie game. So we'll take a few looks at it as we're able. There's the turnover, 6-4-3, and Grube's foot is coming off as he makes the catch. He does have to dig it from the turf. Foot's still there now. Foot's still there, ball's in the glove. He's out. Quick review, end of inning, or half inning. Hokies with an opportunity to win at bottom nine. There's a better look at it. And no separation on an out call on the field. I don't know how you could overturn that. That's a good look to see no separation of maroon between the white cleat and the white bag, but the other one shows contact. There's a good look. Yeah, let's make it interesting as they slow it down here for us. Great look from the crew. Gets him by a couple steps, but does he maintain? At first look, it appeared that he did.
What you are seeing now is what the
There's separation on that look there as the ball in the glove.
And again, those angles you're looking at being reviewed right now. The call in the field was out. It was deemed a double play to end the top half of the ninth inning. But that is under review. Boy, that's very close when you take a look at that angle particularly. So will it be Hokies hitting bottom of the ninth with a chance to win the game in the series, or a runner aboard and the inning continuing for the Stanford Cardinal here in Game 3? Remember, all this happening in a 3-3 game, top half of the ninth inning.
Well, here we have it.
Looks like we're pretty close to finding out, as our umpires are emerging from the video review. It is confirmed as an out. We head to the bottom half of the ninth inning. Hokies looking for a second straight weekend with a walk-off winner when you return. Off in the 10th to claim the game and the series 1 week ago today against the Duke Blue Devils. They're locked into another close contest as they come to bat in the bottom of the ninth in Stanford's first ever visit to Blacksburg. 3-3, and the 5, 6, and 7 spots due up for Virginia Tech in the bottom of the ninth. Boy, what a weekend it's been. 9-7. Stanford in the opener on Friday with all that work from the top of the order and power numbers rising for the Cardinal. And Brett Renfro, some power pitching yesterday to the tune of a 10-2 victory for Virginia Tech. Now comes down to this. Nick Licurdo to lead it off. 1 for 3 with a double back in the 5th inning. And Trevor Moore, who had the save in Friday's opener, looking to hold things steady here in the bottom of the ninth after a strong 8th inning out of the Stanford pen on what's been a bullpen day for the Cardinal. 3 runs on 10 hits, 1 error for Stanford, 3 runs on 8 hits, no errors for Virginia Tech. And Licurdo dribbles the first pitch foul, first base side. ACC series hanging in the balance. And remember, Hokies trying to grab some momentum before they head out on the road, both in the midweek, traveling just down the road here in the New River Valley to Radford before South Florida calls. Miami and then Boston College. The next two ACC series will be away from home for Virginia Tech. What a lift it would be for the Hokies to find a way in the finale. Here's a look at what is ahead for Coach Sheff and company. Right field, that's sinking, but it's going to stay up long enough for Brock Sell to make the play out there. One gone.
Oh, you mentioned South Florida for Easter weekend as the temperatures drop here in Blacksburg on a Sunday afternoon. That sounds pretty good. I don't know about BC to follow, but South Florida temperatures are sounding very inviting at the moment. We know we've had a chilly weekend, a wet one Friday, bumping up the start by 5 hours just to get it in as the rain fell at the conclusion of that one.
You sound like a man trying to make a case to be a part of the traveling party next weekend. You want to go to Mark Light, grab one of those world-famous shakes. I know what's on your mind. It's going to fall in right field, headed to second base with the potential winning run in scoring position. Quite a weekend already for Henry Cook, who is heating up as we roll through the month of March. And he now carries what would be the winning run after this.
Yeah, it's a tough one there. Long way to go for Sale. And that turf can be tough. You see the spin on it, just gets under him and behind him. You saw Cook flirting with second base, not going to be able to get there with the ball in front of Sale, but unfortunately for Cardinal, it gets behind him. Cook advances. You can expect a runner here for the catcher, and Trayson Hughes coming to the plate.
Offensive meeting ahead of the at-bat of Trayson Hughes. Hughes has batted once. He struck out in the 6th inning. All that behind him if he finds a way to deliver right here for the Hokies. If you have been with us, I don't have to tell you how tough it has been for both teams to find a way to push runners on across in this one. For Virginia Tech, 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position. They've left 13. Stanford has experienced the same type scenario. Cardinal leaving 11 in this game. But it is more than just those numbers at play right now. The series is on the line as Trayson Hughes bats. After the meeting with Trevor Moore, here we go. And Hughes, right on top of it, fouls it back against the screen.
Yeah, Cook will stay in to run. A little bit surprised. Plenty of legs in the dugout for Virginia Tech to move here, 180 feet away from a victory. But if you look at the zeros on the board going all the way back to the 6th, you also want your backstop in the game. Defensively, you go to the pinch run and see Cook finishing up. But right now, Hughes way behind 0-2, trying to find any way to get Cook over and again get him in. They've gotten him on, and they've gotten him over in many innings today, but we've touched on the runners left on base aplenty both ways, more so for the Hokies and their struggles with 2 outs.
Well, not only the difficulty in scoring, but as you alluded to, a while since there has been scoring. The last run on either side coming home in the bottom of the 5th inning. Never more than a single run at any point in the game on either side. Of course, one's all you need at this point. 2-2 as that pitch is down. Hughes, his 77th at bat of the year. He's driven home 5 with 13 hits on the season. And he battles back in the count to run it full. Here's the payoff pitch. Ball 4. Couple of Hokies aboard now. Of course, the only run that matters, the one being carried by Henry Cook out at second base.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Nothing hurt there, in my opinion. 1 out, open base at first for Hughes. You get to Gates, Gibson on deck, but 2 aboard, force out back in effect here, and really no damage with the 1 out recorded. Moore in good control here, trying to work out of the jam, bottom 9. Hokies with a little bit of energy, trying to find a way to get that run across.
First pitch strike to Gates. He singled and drove home that most recent run in the 5th inning. If he does so again, the celebration will begin in that third base dugout and beyond. The count evens 1-1. 3 runs on 10 hits for Stanford. 3 runs on 9 hits for Virginia Tech. In this rubber match. Make it 1-2. Trevor Moore trying to extend the baseball game for his team after slamming the door on Friday with his first save of the year. Make that 2-run win stick. He's in a pivotal spot again for Stanford atop the mound. Is 1-2 upstairs. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Sam Gates. And the grad student fouls this off. It holds steady at 2-2.
A big hole left side. Bates over the middle, holding Cook close. Moran trying to split the difference just a little bit. Sasaki, no doubles on the right side of the infield.
Just up. Count full.
Good pitch there by Moore. Just missing the zone. Saying both of these dugouts wanting to get some pitches here down the stretch.
Ball 4, and that will move that potential winning run on around to third base. The margin for error shrinks to nothing for Trevor Moore and company now.
Yeah, just the 1 out. Infield will come in here. And Ethan Gibson, the guy at the plate for the Hokies, who we have touched on, has been able to get it done this weekend. 2-run home run in the 4th inning yesterday in game 2. Looking to be the hero here for the home team. Again, infield drawn in, bases loaded, Moore with nowhere to put them.
Home run in each of the first 2 games of this series. Just going to sneak on out of play. Doesn't need all that power now. Just something in play somewhere effectively to bring home the run Henry Cook carries at third base. All the Hokies are looking for now.
That was a big swing there. To your point, first pitch, Gibson attacking. Good job by Moore to get ahead. You see the bases loaded. Stanford 0 for 2. The Hokies 0 for 4.
Looks like another equipment issue that has to be dealt with before we dial in on this 1 out, bases loaded, bottom of the 9th scenario.
Just flash the fingers, right?
Used to be a way to do that,
school,
right?
Yeah, you know, paint the fingernails and go after it.
In a 3-3 ball game. Here's the pitch, trying to squeeze one in, and it's going to roll foul, first base side. Hokies already in this series showing the ability to play a little small ball. And they tried to squeeze home the game winner here in the bottom of the 9th inning. We reset with the count 0-2.
I like the attempt there. Gibson's going the right direction, right side. Just push it and go with it. Concede the out, allow Cook to score from third, but good job by Moore as well. Execution 0-2 and way ahead. Chance to waste one. Trust your catcher here to keep it in front.
Fouls off the 0-2 pitch. What has already been a monster weekend for the Abington native. But he will swing through an 0-2 pitch upstairs. Stanford an out away from extending the baseball game now. But it is the, one more look at that third strike.
Elevated fastball at the numbers. Gibson trying to find it through the infield, swinging through. Give more credit again, the 2 outs and turning it over to the top.
But it is the guy who provided the dramatics 1 week ago to win the Duke Series, now at the plate. Grube, who has 2 of the 3 walk-offs this season for the Hokies, back in there one more time when it matters most.
Yeah, Grube, a guy with 2 of Virginia Tech's 3 walk-off hits this season, so trying to do it a 3rd time.
Absolutely. Bases loaded here with 2 down. He'll send this into right. That's bending away from the right fielder, but it is read and handled by Brock Sell to turn the Hokies aside once more. Bases left loaded again. And a little more baseball coming your way from Blacksburg. Competitive, even at times. The numbers in this series have been, why not? Play extra inning baseball. They'll wake him up when the moment comes that matters. 3-3 as we head forward into the 10th inning. Going to be 6, 7, and 8 spots due up for the Stanford Cardinal. First ever meeting, ACC competition here in Blacksburg, Virginia. In a full series, that is, between these two teams. They met in the tournament last year, Virginia Tech winning an ACC tournament game against the Stanford Cardinal. This first trip to Blacksburg, a memorable one on so many fronts for the crew out of the West Coast. Well, they got to just keep this thing going long enough so that everybody back home is on into the afternoon hours pretty good, right? Second baseman makes a nice play and enough speed there for Court McDonald that he's able to beat that out. That's about all you can do with it if you're Ethan Ball, but it will be a leadoff base runner for Stanford.
That's definitely good speed because that ball's hit hard, and looks like Coach Sheff and the Hokies are going to challenge, but it appeared McDonald was definitely safe on that play. Great effort by the second baseman to get to that going away from the first base bag and then to make a throw on one hop to Grube, but we'll take a look nonetheless. McDonald with good speed. Again, that ball was hit on a nose, and he's got to get down the base paths in a hurry.
Another of those scenarios like you talked about with Stanford a bit earlier where you've got that challenge. Here we are in extra innings and the Hokies deciding to utilize it. Remember that early review we had in this game all the way back in the first inning was not a Virginia Tech challenge. That was a review initiated by the crew. This one being challenged by the Hokies. Here's what the umpiring crew will be seeing.
It definitely looks like the foot's down before Grube catches it. That's pretty bang, maybe worth the look for Virginia Tech. So similar to the challenge for Stanford in the top of the 9th. That was worth them looking at, but that foot's down. The ball is not yet in the glove. Expect this to be a quick review. Runner aboard, nobody out here, top of the 10th.
The other question that you look at modern college baseball. Did he in fact make contact with the green bag? And that seems to be clear as well. So it appears as if Stanford is going to have a leadoff base runner here in the 10th. As Court McDonald, who has certainly made his contributions this weekend, number 22, a good find from a pinch hitting role on Friday, and may carry the go-ahead run here. He will. The call is safe. So the potential go-ahead run is aboard, as McDonald beats one out on the right side of the infield.
And Hott hit one hard last time, left side, just out of the reach of Gibson on the left side here. So he's looking to continue, see if they can get two aboard and put some pressure on Preston Crowell and the Hokies.
The bunt, they're going to go to second, trying to get the lead runner, and the Hokies will. Well played defensively by Virginia Tech to keep Stanford from moving that go-ahead run into scoring position.
Yeah, good job by Crowell. It's a tough throw, kind of throwing across his body as he fields that in front of the plate. But does a good job to get it to Daniel for that go-ahead base runner, to your point. Keep him at first base here. Keep him out of scoring position with less than two.
First pitch to Nolan Stoll, a freshman out of the Golden State. It's going to be out of the zone for ball one. First extra inning game this year for Stanford. For all the Cardinal have been a part of, they have not experienced an extra inning contest in 2026. Third such game for Virginia Tech, Hokies winning them both. 9-8 against Rutgers in 10 innings back on Saturday the 21st of February. And then, of course, a week ago today, last Sunday against Duke, a 7-6 walk-off winner, also in 10 innings.
It's unbelievable, too, if you think about it, for Stanford. First extra 8 one-run games this year on both sides of some of those contests, but come up 1 run shy or 1 run ahead, and to never have to do it in 10 or more.
Can't say that any longer. That'll be one of the memories from the Cardinal making that inaugural trip to Blacksburg. They find themselves locked into an extra inning contest in the decisive third game. 3-3 has been our score since Virginia Tech tied it up in the bottom of the 5th inning. Not for lack of base runners. As these two teams, you ready for this number? Close your ears. Have left 27 runners on base between them in the ball game. But you credit the defensive effort, the pitching staffs having buckled down when it's mattered along the way. Runner was moving, and that's fouled right into Hokies backstop. Henry Cook's going to take just a moment to walk that off. Ahead of a 2-2 pitch that will be due Nolan Stoll.
Yeah, definitely have to credit the arms. We've seen plenty runners on board, but a lot of zeros now cleared on that scoreboard as we move to a fresh start with the 10th inning far left and crowd trying to work out.
Probably worth reminding fans, how did we arrive here? A run in the first, a run in the second, a run in the fourth for Stanford. A run in the first for Virginia Tech, made it 1-1 after 1. He scored in the third to tie the game at 2 and scored in the 5th to tie the game at 3. Nothing since. And we're only talking in the runs department because there have been plenty since in terms of activity. Base runners, reviews.
Of equipment malfunctions.
Chess match scenarios. This game's had everything. It's been something. We have certainly enjoyed it to this point, and it still hangs in the balance undecided. Been a nice Sunday to enjoy baseball. A little chilly, but bright sunshine throughout the course of the day here in the New River Valley. A payoff pitch coming to the freshman Nolan Stoll as Crowell delivers. High bouncer on the middle infield. The only play will be at second base, but they get the lead runner, 2 down. That chopping its way to the middle infield at such a pace that Stoll easily is able to make his way to first. No chance to turn a double play there. Brock Sell the batter now. Sell, you'll remember for all the energy that surrounds each pitch in his ABs. And he turns, a little nod of the head after falling behind 0-1.
He definitely picks up that dugout after every pitch. Likes for the full group to be engaged. Had a really good at-bat his last time up, as you suggest, before rolling over.
Freshman demonstrative in his communication with the dugout after each pitch. And he's talking to himself right now pretty good as well. You got to love it. He is completely locked in to what is a key at-bat in this top half of the 10th inning for Stanford. Puts this in play. Left field, that's sinking, and it's going to knock up some chalk as a fair ball and a ground rule double once it skips out of play. Could not have walked it out there and placed it any better if you're Brock Sell. And our third base umpire was right on top of it, indicating that made contact with the left field foul line, which means fair ball. And Stanford now with 2 in scoring position.
Yeah, there's a look there. Tough to tell from that angle. Obviously, they're trying to sell the foul ball. It's kind of like the separation at first. White cleat, white bag. Really tough to say that there's any turf in there on the line, and that's the third ball now, perfectly placed down the left side, as we talked about the foul balls previously. And just like that, Sasaki aboard with another intentional walk loaded up. Tokheim an opportunity to really do some damage with 2 outs here in the 10th.
Yeah, perfectly placed. The old baseball terminology of knocking up a little chalk down that left field line. Talk about a timely effort from Sell. After Sasaki is turned aside, it is Tokheim who is going to deliver. He shoots one up the middle, and 2 runs are going to come home to score as Stanford forges back ahead in the top of the 10th.
Yeah, that one set on a nose there, turned around in a hurry. Preston Crowell tries to get his glove up and knock that one down, unable to do so. An effort by Ball as well up the middle to keep it contained. He can't get a glove on it into center field, and runners at the corners, 2 in on this ball, turned around quickly up the middle. Tokheim excited here for the Stanford, rightfully so. And you see 2 efforts there before it gets to Hughes in center. 5-3 ball game, 2 outs in the 10th.
Teddy Tokheim bookending his weekend nicely. He had the multi-home run effort on Friday. And he has the 2 RBI knock, which Stanford will look in the bottom of this inning to turn into the game winner in the series finale. Now, Virginia Tech has the 2, 3, and 4 spots. Daniel, Ball, and Luterman due up in the bottom of inning number 10. But the Cardinal with the first 2-run inning of the day, and they just turned it into a 3-run inning, as the lead is 6-3. Bates getting the job done. And here's that top of the order for Stanford that grabbed headlines on Friday, making the difference, at least for now, on Sunday as well.
Yeah, and just seeing the ball, we've continued to talk about bend, don't break. They have not broken in this one, and right now they are bending the Hokies in the 10th as the Stanford Cardinal continue to turn balls around. That by Bates hit hard. Some more excitement. Why not some insurance runs, as we've been in a 3-3 stalemate for a long time. But a 3 spot here, and what do you know, with 2 outs in the 10th inning.
That brought Sasaki home, and now Virginia Tech going to gather up and talk about it. Down 6-3. First extra inning game of the year. Cardinal handling it well. They've handled everything this weekend, for the most part, extremely well. The early start for the crew off the West Coast on Friday translated into a 9-7 win and their first extra inning opportunity, turning into a 6-3 lead in the 10th. Change being made for the Hokies. We'll recap what's happened here in the 10th and set it all up for you momentarily. A 6-3 game now in extra innings in the decisive third contest. Top half of the 10th inning. And Virginia Tech going back to the pen here, Andrew.
Yeah, Eisenrich, a guy that we've seen this weekend, coming out trying to close the door. Good velocity from the right-hander. He's going to try to pound the zone. Runners at the corners here. Damage not done for Stanford as they pick up the 3 spot. And a game that's been very quiet in terms of runs for a long time, but no longer here in the 10th is the Cardinal making a bid for an opportunity to take a series here on the road after winning Friday. Hokies even up yesterday. Right now, Stanford out in front. Hokies 1 at bat left, but right now Eisenrich trying to find that 3rd out.
Stanford looking for an ACC series win for the first time 2026. Runner going to move down to second, so 2 in scoring position. Here's a recap of the inning for you. Court McDonald singled. Ethan Hott, in an effort to move the runner, bunted, but the play was down to second base, and the Hokies got the lead runner after Nolan Stoll hit into a fielder's choice. 2 outs were on the board. But a double that hopped over the fence after it knocked up some chalk down that left field line for Brock Sell. Set the stage for Rentaro Sasaki to be intentionally walked. And then Teddy Tokheim. Making his latest contribution. Charlie Bates followed it up with a single of his own. You add it all up, it's now 6-3 Cardinal. Stanford still looking for more with Moran at the plate now. Well, and what does this hold in common with the rest of the weekend in many ways? 2 outs on the board and Stanford posting 3. Does Virginia Tech have an answer? Hokies coming up in the bottom of the 10th on the other side of the break. Game 3 of the series. In fact, our score was 3-3 from the 5th inning on. And now a 3 spot for Stanford as the Cardinal 3 outs away from picking up an ACC series victory. Here's the upcoming schedule for the crew from the Bay Area that they would like to build the momentum of what is a potential series victory into. You see what's ahead. We talk about those 5 trips that the Cardinal will make east. They've certainly handled this one, a first ever trip to Blacksburg, very well. A 9-7 win on Friday, now in position, leading at 6-3 in the Sunday rubber match. The response will have to come from Pete Daniel, Ethan Ball, Hudson Luderman for Virginia Tech, and that would need to be the start as the Hokies now being out-hit 14-9, trailed by 3 where it matters most. Right field, Brock Sell's been busy out there since coming on. He makes the play, 1 away. Now, if the home fans are looking for a little hope, there have been base runners today. Hokies have left 16. Stanford leaving 13. They did play 3 in the top of the inning. As a result, ball comes to the plate with Virginia Tech down to its final 2 outs. This is the 3rd extra inning game, as we shared with you a half inning ago, for Virginia Tech this year. They won the first 2 in 10, but by a single run. It would take some doing here in this 3rd extra inning contest for the Hokies this year. Stanford trying to make the most of their first extra inning affair of 2026.
Yeah, and doing it in what would not be a 1-run game at the moment. We touched on the 8 that they've been in this year without going extras. Able to get a few insurance runs in the top of the 10th to put up the 3 spot and take the 6-3 lead. The Hokies trying to find a way to find a couple base runners. We've talked so much as well about the 2-out work and exactly what Stanford was able to do. 2 outs, runner at first in the 10th before they really got going and strung a few together.
Well, looking for back-to-back successful weekends. Stanford coming off a 4-game sweep at Sunken Diamond over Utah Valley last weekend, but this would be the first successful ACC weekend this year for the Cardinal. And an early weekend. They're playing a lot of 4-game series on the weekend because of the travel in the ACC that is required from time to time, but they split a 4-game series with Cal State Fullerton back in February. And a tough weekend on the road at Wake Forest, the other ACC road series thus far. And dropped the final 2 after taking the opener from Pitt at home in the middle of this month of March. So it's shaping up to be that first real ACC moment for Sasaki and the Cardinal this year. Fouled back 3-2. And when you consider what's ahead, as we showed you coming into the weekend, home to a talented Clemson squad before on the road to a College World Series representative from a year ago, and Dan McDonald's Cardinals. Cardinal and Cardinals will go head-to-head. And that's ahead of hosting Miami and Florida State. It is going to be ACC baseball at its finest moving down the line. So big day if they can make it stick. But this is just what Virginia Tech needs. Base runners to respond, and Ball becomes the first such as he draws a walk.
Good job there to extend the at-bat. We saw some foul balls in that approach and earns that free pass, as you suggest. Luderman coming up, Licurdo, Cook, and Hughes, if they can get down the way here. Virginia Tech, don't see any pinch hit bats warming up along the third base side, but 1 out, 1 aboard.
Laced but foul. You know, we should be clear. We talk about the 5 road trips that Stanford has to make every year. This year is the year that they play Cal on the road. So one of those just across to Berkeley. That makes it just the 4 major trips west to east this time. But anytime you can steal one of those, as his crew is on the verge of doing right here, that's a major step toward a solid season. You still need 2 outs to make that a reality. Here's a pitch closer, as Luderman is now in an 0-2 hole.
Yeah, see Luderman with some questions there. Looked like a pretty good pitch up in the zone on the 0-1 to go 0-2. So Luderman working out of a hole here.
Fights this off from Trevor Moore. Moore, who picked up the save on Friday, in line for the W on Sunday, has pitched the last 2 1/3 for Stanford. His timely contributions in what would be the bookend games of the series cannot be overstressed. Left side of the infield, going all the way across for the sure second out. And now the Cardinal 1 out away from buttoning up the series.
A good job there by Bates with the shift. Tough to go through the middle there and get the lead runner. Lead runner not as critical as they were able to get some insurance in the top half. So across 6-3, just as you suggest, for 2 outs, and really now a pitch in and out away from securing a very impressive victory for the Cardinal in Game 3, as they've held the Hokies at bay and found a way to take the lead in 10.
And if they're looking for questions to be answered atop the mound, you got to believe Trevor Moore has answered some for them this weekend.
Yeah, Gomez, O'Hara, Moore are 3 names that stand out for me out of the bullpen for Stanford. Has given them quality appearances in what have been very short starts. 4 starters as expected by committee for the most part for Coach Esker and the Cardinal. And just as you suggested, Moore, one of those quality right-hand arms out of the pen here on the road.
Just threw his 55th pitch. Andrew Shaw worked an inning to start the day. Cassius Thomas an inning. Brock Kettleson, Cohen Gomez, Torin O'Hara, Mike Erspalmer, and now Trevor Moore all utilized on this Sunday. And that's hit well into center, seeming to have a beat on it, and able to make the play to put the finishing touches on this Game 3 victory as Ethan Hott out there and the Stanford Cardinal pour out of that first base dugout. They answered the early morning for them bell start on Friday, picked up a 9-7 win in the opener, and they certainly answered the extra inning bell for the first time to cap it on Sunday with what will go in the books as a 6-3 final to claim the series.
Well, as you mentioned, we saw it all this weekend, but Stanford finds a way today. Good quality bullpen pitching, keeping the runners on the base paths for the Hokies, not allowing them to take an extended lead, and enough for the offense to turn it on in the 10th with 2 outs to put up the 3 spot. Proves to be the difference here in the rubber match. Stanford able to take a series on the road.
Stanford Cardinal improved to an even 500 on the year at 13-13. They claimed their first AC series. And they claimed their first ACC series on their inaugural trip to Blacksburg with a 6-3 win in extra innings on this Sunday. That'll do it. Reminder, you can catch this one as well as all games across the ESPN family of networks on the new ESPN app. For our entire crew in Blacksburg, big thank you for joining us. Stanford takes the series 6-3 in extras on this memorable Sunday.